Welcome to Plat Chat episode 33, everybody. I've got myself a custard treat, and I've also got myself another custard treat. Sat next to me. His name's Custa. He's a treat.
Hopefully one's better than the other.
I'm going to try this little Korean custard treat now and tell you what I think of it.
You could have worked on your hosting skills during the quarantine, but clearly not.
Hasn't bothered, does he?
Yeah.
No, it's not egg. Well, maybe it is. I think this is Korean because it's from Lotti. You know Lotti?
There's normally a lot of egg in custard.
Maybe it is then.
But it doesn't
It's like
really look like
60%
custard.
Pretty good. It's a very nice little sweet snack. It's called custard cake, I think. Pretty good. But in case you're wondering, Custa's here. Johnny's currently sick with an ear infection.
Right.
And Matt's muted. Oh, no.
I'm not muted. Why would I be muted?
I don't know, mate. Your audio's normally been so good over the last couple of episodes.
I'm not muted.
Yeah, you're not muted. You're all right. Anyway, let's get on to business.
Yeah, my audio's improved.
Your
Shout
audio
out
has
to me.
improved because Kurt sat down with you for God knows how long and fixed your shit.
Okay, so
30 seconds.
I can tell this story before we start. Kurt sat with me for maybe 8 seconds to fix my audio.
So it only took 8 seconds to fix audio bugs that have been with you your entire professional career.
Yes. So what happened was I enabled a thing inside of Discord that put like a crazy noise gate on it. Look, I'll do it for you guys now, and you can hear how horrible it sounds. Let me see if I can find it. Oh yeah. So this is me with it, just kind of like, hey, what's up? This is good. So now this is me without.
Oh wow,
that was our issue.
That's terrible.
That's awful.
that really was a big
Thank
issue.
God the
yeah.
Overwatch League is sponsored by TeamSpeak.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Wow.
Great plug. Great plug.
Wow.
What a good point.
Yeah.
Bren, let people know that they can start buying those cups.
Can they?
No, they can't.
They can't,
But everybody
yeah.
in the comments always asks, "Can we get a cup?"
At some
But I
point, we
figured-
will actually sell our merch.
Yep, we have no idea how we will go about that, but we will.
I'm just
Trust
going to
us.
steal one.
I think you can use Etsy or something for it, right? Can you?
Couldn't they take like one?
You know what we should do? I have a great idea. We should get a bunch of blank mugs, and Bren can paint the mugs and send them to people, and personalize them.
God, that sounds
The amount
amazing.
of time that physical labor would take. How would that be worthwhile?
1,000 orders, Bren.
$5 a mug.
Get out of here. Anyway, I was going to say something. I've completely forgotten.
Well, the
What's it about?
podcast
Yeah,
will
let's
be
talk,
better
let's
for
talk
it.
about Overwatch. The whole reason of this show. Let's talk about the open queue.
Yeah.
The developer update got recently put out by Jeff. Gotta say, Jeff, your beard is looking magnificent.
Yeah,
Don't know if Jeff watches
yeah.
Plat Chat.
Probably not.
Obviously, no. Jeff watches.
Sure, okay. I mean, whatever keeps us asleep at night doesn't keep us up.
Whatever
Puts us to
keeps us
sleep.
asleep at night. Okay.
Mate, actually, though, I feel like my brain is slowly getting slower.
Okay.
This is
Can't
this is
argue with
four-
that.
This is now four heads with a new overlay and Custa instead of Golden Boy. Reinforced.
Okay, competitive open queue. So what Jeff said basically was that they're planning on they're taking down the competitive open queue in the I think it's in the experimental cards right now or somewhere.
No, it's in the quick play, like arcade.
Arcade.
Yeah.
And then they're going to put it side by side alongside competitive. So they're going to give people the choice. I really like this because I like to play DPS and I don't care what team comp I have. So it's
Isn't
good
that-
for me.
Isn't it really weird though that like queue times have already been really long, and if you split people between two queues, aren't they just gonna get absurdly long?
This
Well,
is gonna
because it's no, because it's the
it
ratio
helps the
of things.
queues.
Why does it help queues?
That's what they've said.
Because I imagine what it's going to mean is if you want to play tank or support, you'll just play 2-2-2 because you're guaranteed a good quality game. But if you want to play DPS and you're selfish, you'll play open queue.
Right.
And it will take some DPS out of the roll-lock queue, which means faster games. But it will also think about it in ratios. Okay, you're mixing a cake. If you mix the cake in the right ratios, but you take away half the mixture once it's all mixed, you still get a cake at the end of the day.
What in the Lord's name are you talking about?
The amount of games, you won't notice a difference in queue times because the amount of players being taken out of each of those roles.
You were so right, and then now you just.
Do you see what I mean?
You were on the right. No, you were on the right path, and then you just
right there.
the cake analogy.
You see what I'm talking about, though, right? If you're taking away a lot of the DPS players that would be queuing, so it's faster.
Right.
Because they would rather play open queue. They'd rather have fast queues. And some of the tank players and some of the support players, and putting them in this open queue.
It's it.
And then suddenly you get faster games in the 2-2-2, but also fast games in open queue.
But that's under the proviso that it's more DPS players that try and play open queue.
Yeah.
If it's just half and half, then you haven't changed the ratios.
And people's
I think more DPS will
just
play
longer.
open queue.
Why do you think that more DPS are going to play?
Because I'm going to start playing Overwatch again.
I think they will. I think they will play it. I think more people will play the open queue. And in a weird world, like when I saw it today, I was like, you know what? I hate double shield and Mei so much. I'll play goats again. I would play goats again.
But you're just literally.
Now we can do one last. Now we can do one last ride every game. we can just go in and say one last ride and just get right into it.
I saw a comment online, and the thing that people aren't realizing is that triple tank is now a possibility. Triple shield tank, I should say. Ryan, Orisa, Sigma.
Yeah, this is going to go great. I'm really looking forward to this one.
Triple shield tank is now a Can you imagine triple shield tank goats?
Triple shield tank, triple support, dude. Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm ready.
But also play it with an echo for like quad shield.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
Just play
with
all
Lucio
the
Moira, and you just run at people and build
more,
coalescence every fight.
The deeper we go, the more I think this is going to be a terrible idea.
I think this is the comp. Yeah.
I think it'll be fun for like 3 days, and then we're gonna realize all the issues that happened when we played.
Yeah, there were a lot of issues, but I also played a lot more Overwatch back then. So
I do feel like it's a band-aid solution to the queues being long. Yeah. Like it's not it's not like a long-term solution.
I'm a DPS
But that's
main,
the thing that we've said about everything is that there just seems to be a fundamental problem between on one hand you have very long queues, and on the other hand you had people not playing 2-2-2, specifically at the lower levels as well. Because I will say the amount of non-2-2-2 games I had in Diamond I could count them on one hand. Like it really did not happen. They
mostly were, yeah.
They were almost all 2-2-2 anyway. But you can't have your cake and eat it too unless you massively increase the amount of players that are actually playing Overwatch. Like unless there's a huge amount more players playing Overwatch, then you're always going to have longer queues.
I think most of them want to play DPS. That's the issue.
Yeah.
Is most of them fell in love with Overwatch as a shooting game, and then it just kind of morphed into like a more about like abilities and cooldown usage, etc. Where I think there's a large chunk of the player base who just wants to shoot.
I just like shooting things.
Well, what's your solution then? Like an actual long-term solution the only thing that would suffice is make every support and tank a shooting hero.
Well, like you can't do that. We're too deep in the source with Overwatch. That's why I actually thought the 3-1-2 like scenario that Jeff brought up was interesting. It would have sold the DPS. I would have preferred to have seen that come more into light than just going back in time and now we're just gonna play quad tank.
I've mentally sold myself. I was cool with the 1-3-2 combination. And then the other night when I was just playing WoW just by myself and thinking about it, because I don't know why I started thinking about it, I've sold myself on the idea of 5v5, 1 tank, 2 DPS, 2 supports.
God.
What?
That could work, but you can't just delete a player out of the game at this point.
Just delete a player.
They've already done so much. Like a lot of the changes coming in
too.
Yeah, and
you can't really now, but you could for Overwatch.
No, but for like a long-term solution, like 5v5, it would give more space on the map so more people can kind of like freely operate. You could not run double shield at that point. The tanks aren't getting nuked because there aren't 3 damage dealers. It doesn't make the speed of the game that crazy. I kind of sold myself on it the other night. And then, like normal, I usually just kind of spew ideas out here on the show.
I think from a game design standpoint, it could make sense, could work, right? But then I'm like always thinking about the poor pro players, you know. Suddenly, every team doesn't need an additional player.
Or did you see the one? Did you see the one Reddit post where somebody they made it was another slot that went into damage where almost one of your damage slots was like a flex.
Yeah.
And it was a role called Bruiser, and like Mei May, the off tanks, Doomfist, they ended up in like the bruiser category. So it would increase the amount of people who are queuing DPS, because you would queue as it kind of falls under the DPS category. And then you could either have 3 DPS or a bruiser in that second spot, and then leave all the shield tanks in the tank role. I think that becomes way too complicated, but I thought that was an interesting idea.
That is an interesting idea. Did you see Jeff said in the content creation Discord thing that he thought that them trying to achieve an equal balance of tank, DPS, and support heroes in the game was a mistake?
In terms of what?
In terms of their releasing of heroes, how they're trying to catch up the tanks and support so there's an equal amount to play compared to the
Why
DPS.
did he think that was a mistake?
Yeah.
Probably because there's only so many ways you can... Now listen, I'm actually just... this is just a line, a clickbait line that I read. I can't talk, but here's my thought process behind it, because I find it quite interesting just from a game design perspective. But I imagine it's a lot easier to be unique and creative when you're creating abilities for a DPS character than you are a tank, because fulfilling the purpose of a tank is already being fulfilled by so many of these roles. That how do you add something that doesn't just, you're not just reinventing the wheel? Like Sigma is unique, but he is just adding another shield, like a projected shield, like everything that provides that kind of shield. Like, what is unique about it, you know?
I think it's also the fact that I think they've definitely probably have felt that developing tanks and supports is way harder, because if they give them too much, they become extremely oppressive, and if they give them too little, they're not played at all, and then they have to go back to the balance wheel of it. Yeah. And when they balance them, it always kind of ends up on the tricky end. Like, think about all of the tanks and supports we've had come through since they've been released. They've all been like extremely oppressive and game changing. Arisa was just like an evolved version of like Reinhardt, right, with a supercharger and whatnot.
When she came out, she was pretty useless.
No, she was pretty useless, but then they had to buff her, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
that's what made her so oppressive. Right?
Anna was, people didn't think she was great when she came out. They buffed her immediately. But they 'buffed her right away.
Not when
I thought
Anna
when she
first
came out, she was broken.
Her clip size,
they buffed her right after.
She had like 6 shots or something stupid, right?
Yeah.
They buffed. I think they gave her like 13 shots or something ridiculous, like 10. And then they buffed her. Like Baptiste was ridiculous when he came out with the immortality field and the jump. Sigma as well. Like, they have so many problems with the balance of even Moira, right? Moira is like her healing output's insane, and you see the damage that Coalescence does now. I just don't think they have an idea how to create new fun tanks and supports without having them take over the game.
Wrecking Ball is pretty good.
Yeah, but they're always going to have they're going to have a good one here and there. See, like, my thing is, I think we would have as many DPS issues, like of too many people want to play DPS, if we had the same number of DPS tanks and supports. The issue right now is there's such a large pool of DPS characters that there's very limited tanks and supports you want to play. I don't really enjoy playing many tanks at all. I like most of the supports, but DPS, there's so many things that you can choose, and you see so many people tend towards different ones. So I think if there was equal amounts, it wouldn't be as bad.
Yeah. Okay, but here's the issue with that, is if you try and create an equal amount, the common factor when you're making a character for damage dealers, there's so many different ways you can make a character deal damage. With supports, you've got healing, and with tanks, you've got damage mitigation. And there's only so many ways you can creatively put that into a character's kit while trying to change things up.
But the issue is with creating new concepts for damage mitigation and healing, but without going past the ones we already have. You get into like ridiculous like kind of stuff in terms of like what we see in like MOBAs and even games like WoW in terms of damage mitigation.
MOBAs tend to just overlap in kits across the board.
Right. Well, that's why I think we do need more heroes who do the same exact thing as other heroes, but just have different utility. Really? That's what you see. Yeah, that's why you see like
that would help.
Yeah, that's why you see League of Legends, they can be successful in a ban phase and whatnot, because you have a character like Misfortune gets banned. Like Lucian is kind of in the same category in terms of what he can do, just a little bit different utility, different like play style, right?
Don't want Overwatch to be like that though. They want every hero to feel unique and for there to be a hero that somebody can.
But then you're gonna run into situations where you have.
Like,
no, I don't think you run out of ideas. I think you just start building off of characters. Like, okay, here's a perfect example. Like, you start building off of the archetype of Soldier 76. After a while, Soldier 76 becomes obsolete because one of his moves is like just run faster, and you can put down a little healing station. And think about how far gone we've gone past that in terms of like hero design. Right, and then you have Echo. Look at Echo compared to Soldier. Yeah. Obviously not like one to one, but just in terms of kit design, like it's so much more complex.
I've got a really. I was doing these series with Spice Adams, right, and he knows nothing about Overwatch.
Yeah, he knows a lot.
He's learning. We did an episode last week where he watched Rascal play Echo, and then we did an episode today where he watched Logix play McCree. And it was that game where Logix just popped off against the San Francisco Shock. And at the end of it, he was like, man, that Banff guy is slow. I was like, yeah, he kind of is. And he was like, you know, Echo last week, she was flying all around the place. She was doing some crazy stuff. And I was like, yeah, you know, Echo really is like absolutely crazy. Even if you have no idea about the game, you can still tell that Echo just has bonkers mobility and the level of character design is so far gone from what it previously was.
Think about,
and I don't think that Echo's bad. I think Echo's really fun, but I imagine that it's fairly difficult for them to create new fantastic tanks that don't make the previous ones completely obsolete.
Yeah, I mean, think about how far Sigma's pushed the boundaries. Like when you kind of when they talk about barrier tanks, right? You kind of start with Reinhardt, like the initial barrier tank. He can throw a fire strike and he can pin somebody and he can hold his shield up. Sigma can shoot his shield any direction. He can stun you with a big rock. He can suck up all your damage and then like turn into shields. He can lift you up and then knock you down for % health. Like it is so far past some of the original heroes that like,
Echo is... Sorry, Matt, go ahead.
No, I think you just may have given too much to like I think there just may be too much in certain heroes. Yeah. Like certain heroes may have gotten too much.
This happens in every game.
It's just power creep.
Like it's just you got to be more crazy with some of the design, otherwise it's not going to be unique. Like it happened in League. Didn't League recently release a character that has like 16 different abilities in one?
Aphelios, yeah.
Aphelios, yeah.
But yeah, it's like a meme in the League of Legends community. I think is that every new character released has like a bunch of kit taken from like a bunch of other characters, and it's just a better version of all of those characters. And like the old characters need a redo. I think that they kind of want to avoid that to a degree in Overwatch. They don't want the character. They don't want you to be able to just play one character and play another one and almost feel indistinguishable apart from one or two things.
So what if for something like Overwatch 2, when we saw the game in the single player, that's obviously like a little bit off topic, but I think this is more towards like how in the future they kind of solve these issues. What if they had like talent trees for the heroes?
Well, not in multiplayer. I don't think that would work.
No, it doesn't work.
Well, no, not with the crazy abilities like we see in the single player, but like modified to work for multiplayer, that you could play certain heroes in certain situations and whatnot that you may not be able to do now.
That's like items in Dota, essentially, right?
Almost,
like
yeah.
But you customize the hero based on the map. Or
like you could have like a tracer build that could maybe reduce like stuff. I think it makes the game so much more complicated.
He just wants to play WoW and Overwatch.
Well, no, I just want the game to be a little bit more complicated. Now, I think you need to bring some of the earlier heroes in line with some of the new design, and I don't know how you do that without reworking a bunch of them or just kind of giving them more stuff.
I personally don't think that would work in a game like Overwatch because it's way too fast-paced for you to be able to figure out what people are running. Like in a MOBA, you have the laning phase or you have downtime to be able to look and research the enemy heroes and see what builds they're going for. In Overwatch, like, can you imagine the scramble in the first 15 seconds to figure out, like, oh my god, they're running Tracer. Oh my god, they're running like the bulky Tracer build and the Glass Cannon Echo build, and oh my god, how do we counter that? We have to go back to spawn, we have to switch around talent trees. Holy shit!
Yeah, you got the first point. You got the first point.
Yeah.
It wouldn't
Give
work.
up first point King's Row. We have to hold them in streets. For God's sake, go back to spawn and build your talent trees differently. We're going over the bulky build.
I want it.
I think it's too much added complexity to a game that's already very complex.
But what do you do then?
Well, you've gone back on your argument very quickly, haven't you, Matt? Bloody hell!
I was thinking more of it, not in like you go to the spawn and change it, like you pick it in like the pre-game lobby, and that's like what you're stuck with in terms of like build.
So what? You have talents that just transcend across every hero? How do you do that?
Or just like
a very fleshed out idea.
No, it's not. It's not a fleshed out idea at all. I never said it was a fleshed out idea. I'm just saying I want something that kind of augments or changes the heroes so they can be more viable in more situations outside of. You're never gonna. They're gonna come out with more heroes, and you're never gonna see a hero like Genji because we're so far past him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's why they got to do somewhat regular reworks. Like that's what they're planning with Moira, right?
We don't know what the plan with Moira is.
They said a rework.
Yeah, I hope it's heavy.
I think they said.
Yeah,
rework.
I think they used the word rework.
Not in the developer update.
Didn't they? I thought
Jeff
they
said changes. Rework. Jeff said changes, but I think in the content creator meeting that they had on Discord,
I'm gonna see if I can find some of this stuff.
I think they used the word rework because I thought during the people were coming at me for tweeting saying there was a Moira rework, and they were like, "You didn't say that in the video," but I got that from somewhere.
It was on I could have sworn it was on like a blue post on
Maybe
the forums.
It was a blue post.
I think I remember reading it on Reddit. Someone linked to it. He said there's Moira rework in the mix, and it will be coming onto experimental soon. So I would assume that this is it, right?
Yeah, either there's a Moira rework coming or some bitch somewhere lied and just put this in the community.
We're going to hunt that guy down because we're coming for you. You better hide, dude.
Yeah, because I would love a Moira rework if it actually happens. Because I feel like that's one of the heroes that people have been... It's not so much that people complain about Moira, but she's just like, she ain't that fun.
She's not fun to play, but she has crazy...
Some people find her fun to play. It's a very unique subsection of the user base. So to speak, it's like the people who want to play Overwatch and feel impactful by using a steering wheel.
Yeah. They want to feel impactful while watching a Netflix show.
Yeah. You just check out an orb.
Then you get people like me who can't even play Moira anyway, despite the fact that you can play with a steering wheel.
I mean,
because she's boring, I'd rather play something like Zen.
So the content creator won. So it was. Samiru who asked the question, does the team plan to revisit how skill to reward works hero by hero in game? For example, bring in Moira, bypass the learning curve and crucial game knowledge and mechanics. And they said, Jeff said, we want a mix of skill deltas across heroes. Part of what makes Overwatch the game that it is that a variety of and diverse skill and play sets. With that said, changes are coming to Moira on the experimental cards soon.
So just changes. So
they didn't change.
Yeah.
If we're looking at changes for Moira, I think something that could make it better without a complete rework is making it harder to generate resources. It feels like you have almost an unlimited amount of heals. Like very rarely do you seem to run out of heals. I would like it to be significantly shorter, or like force a mechanic that you have to be more interactive in the game other than just holding left click at people.
Why don't they tighten her beam so there's actually like an LG and not just a vacuum?
Because then people need to learn how to aim, and that's not what Moira is. Like, I think Moira is like a Mercy, where it's, you can play the game and it's not that hard. You don't have to have aiming requirements like Ana.
I kind of view Moira fits the like an AoE version of Mercy type of situation.
In my opinion, like, you have to boil it down to a niche, right? Like, each support hero has a niche. And Moira's biggest niche is that she is her fade. It's her get out of jail free card. Like, that's the whole reason that you would put.
Is it?
You think it's not an AoE heal?
I would say it's AoE throughput.
No,
it's
like,
survivability.
She has great healing, but the main reason you play Moira is to survive. Like, the main reason she gets played at the pro level and in comps is because you press that fade button.
You're still thinking about the pro level.
No, even at the low level, right?
That's like,
they ain't thinking about survivability. They're locking in Moira because she's Irish and she sounds funny.
No, that's why you're locking Moira, Bren.
Like, if you just leave the bottom level players to do whatever the hell they want to do, like, that's fine. That ain't ruin anybody's games. That's perfectly fine. Like, leave those people to do their own stuff. But the reason that Moira, I think, isn't that satisfying to people who play the game, seriously, or want to play the game strategically, or the reason that Moira takes something away from the game strategically, is that she should be a hero that you play because you want to be survivable, but she also has bonkers healing.
Yeah.
And so I feel like just leave the bonkers healing stuff to somebody like Mercy or Ana, who Mercy, you're like playing her specifically because she also has the damage boost and can fly. And Ana has a little bit more squishy and has the skill level to be able to survive that. But for Moira, you can't make her such a face roll character with high impact. If she's totally face roll, you have to give her a little bit less impact.
Yeah. She's just ridiculous. I mean, this weekend we were just watching people. They would pop coalescence and get in front of the tanks and just start hosing people down. They had no fear of dying or anything.
I don't think any of us should quit our day jobs
Why?
and go into game development. But
I have no intention of ever doing that.
Yeah.
It's also a thankless job.
It's something that would interest me, I think, because it's like almost like a puzzle. You got to it's a balancing act of many things,
and it's never going to be right either. Right? Like it's always you're never all right. You're never going to get it 100% perfect, and someone's always going to be upset with any decision that you make.
Yeah, but that's the fun of it, isn't it? You just
I don't know about fun.
Then you become a controversial figure online.
You talk to Team 4, you see whether they think all the trolling comments on Blizzard are fun.
Well, they probably, if they're smart, they ignore if they're smart, they ignore everybody.
Oh,
it's hard to do.
I think it'd be quite hard to ignore 1,000 Mercy mains going,
I did like the comments though, because from this, yeah. That's
Josh
okay,
isn't ready
Josh.
to be a Mercy main.
Embrace your squeaky voice. You don't need to hide it behind filters here.
Dude, yeah, right? You see the video with Spice Adams, dude? He edited his voice, dude.
my mic was bust and it came out, dude. They sent me the preview of that video like a week ago, and I was like, oh no. Because they said to me, they were like, there's a weird clicking noise when every few seconds on your mic, and I was like, oh, I know what that is.
Did you not also notice that my mic sounded so deep?
Did nobody say anything?
I said that to the producer, and he said, man, I just thought you had a cold. I was like, dude, no. My
For
mic
real?
was like, I was like an octave lower, man.
It was just instantly discernible.
I guess they just didn't want to be rude. Like, it just sounds like my voice, but a little bit deeper. So they just thought I had a cold.
Maybe they did think you were self-conscious.
Did Spice Adams say anything?
No, because I'd only ever spoken to him like
he
for
didn't
an
know
hour
what he sounded like.
that, right? Like, he doesn't know what I normally sound like. He ain't researching back through the companion streams trying to get a feel of how I sound.
Well, I mean, it sounded like you smoked a pack of Newports and then you just went out there.
That's the power of Zoom. Again, thank the Lord that the Overwatch League is sponsored by TeamSpeak, because again, Zoom ain't cutting it. It changes my sample rate.
Yeah, even though you blamed your mic, it's Zoom's fault.
It was Zoom's fault.
Well, now you're going to get into a TSM scenario. You start blaming your sponsors, you know. They start blaming the Lenovo PC for all the leaks. You know, we're delving into the League of Legends area now. We're going to get out of it.
Let's not
Don't
dip
talk
in
about
there.
leaks, mate. It's a bad idea.
We're going to get out of it. Don't worry.
Look who's on the show
People in glass
today.
houses. People in glass houses shouldn't throw stones.
Should we go to the next topic?
Yeah. Bren, talk about hero pools.
No. We're going to talk about the recap of week 14. So we're just going to talk about a couple of the matches.
Was it just me that thought this was one of the best weeks of OWL that we've had?
So
No, it was. It was sick.
so good.
I loved this week. I thought it was amazing.
The last 2 weeks I've really enjoyed.
I went into this week with low expectations too.
Oh yeah.
I will say, I was also just quarantine hit me bad this week, and so I was really grumpy for one of the days. Like, I was properly fuming about something. I don't know why. I was really angry just generally. I'm not normally an angry person, and so I saw that Seoul had done well, and I rage tweeted something like, "Oh, what the fuck? It's all just bullshit, innit? It's just a coin flip. Just Seoul doing well. What the fuck is that about? They just double shield. Of course they do well. It's absolute bullshit." I went back and I watched the games, and I was like, it actually wasn't just Seoul winning double shield. They won some dive mirror as well.
Seoul
against
looked
Shanghai.
like they improved. But the annoying thing is...
But kind of what is that bullshit, you know? Like, it actually is a bit bullshit.
But that's what I mean. Like,
bullshit.
somebody equated this to when London existed last year.
I think that's what I said on that. Like, I was like, it has the semblance and the shadows of what happened with London Spitfire. It feels like those players are just so up and down that one week they can be good and the next, like, we all watched when Seoul lost.
Sorry,
they were awful.
wait a second though. When the hell did London set records for being rolled, and then the next week go out with 3-0 teams? They've always been 3-0.
Let me give you a prime example. Going into the playoffs of the first season when we were on the Valiant and we played the London Spitfire the week before.
Well, they were fucking hot garbage.
No, we scrimmed them just before they played Gladiators. We scrimmed them just before we played they played Gladiators, and we rolled them. We literally spawn camped them before they played the Gladiators, and we're like, they're done.
We were in the room.
Me and Bren went to the London house. We've never told this story before. I don't think we even can now.
Were you in there when we did this?
But it's so long ago that I think we can tell it now.
I still don't think that we can really tell it, honestly. But I mean, I'll leave that up to you. That's me and Bren went over to their house to watch some playoff scrims before, and Valiant hadn't given us permission. But fuck it, we were just watching from the London Spitfire point of view. So we were just watching your team scrim. Didn't care anyway, did we? So we were watching a game, and then shit exploded. Like, I'm not going to go into details, but shit exploded in the London house. Like some real like interpersonal stuff. Yeah. And they like usher us out of the scrim room, and they're like, "Oh my god, we got to fix this. Like, we'll be back in a sec."
we had a moment. Soon jump shot one of their players on Eichenwald. You know how you jump shot out of spawn? He jump shot out of spawn, headshot one of them. One of them literally ult F4'd out of the game. Just left the game in the middle of a scrim. They're like, sorry, we'll restart. And we're like, hello?
So we were in the middle of this like massive fiasco at the London place. And me and Brennon are talking to each other, and we're like, they're boomed. They're gone. They're gone. Yeah. They're absolutely boomed.
They're actually out of the playoffs. They're out of the playoffs.
And there's some massive argument. They change around who's shot calling, and they go on to just roll everybody. But I can see where that comparison would make sense.
No. It wasn't that they went on to roll everybody. Do you remember the game where they went into it? Because we did that weird format where you played like a best of 3 matches.
Yeah, you played a best of 3.
They lost the first one.
It was against the Gladiators, right?
No. We watched the scrims just before they started winning. When we went into scrims, it was already after they had lost 1-3-0 to the Gladiators.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't.
It was. It was just as that happened.
No, I don't think it was.
It was because they changed the shot caller because they were literally...
I don't think there was a week difference between those matches. I think there was only one day, wasn't it?
Yeah, you had
Josh, I don't think it was, Josh. Seriously.
Okay. I'm going to look it up
because I remember thinking, I remember my analysis being based on the fact that they were boomed. And then I was like, and then they looked boomed in their first match. And I was like, well, this is it. This is the end of London. Like, and then they had another opportunity to come back. And
there was 3 days in between the loss and the win, and the 2 wins happened back to back, like on the same same day.
Maybe it was in the middle of that because we had the same thing. Like we started planning for the Gladiators. We were like, London's out. Like they're not going to play.
I think it was in the middle because I remember that their shot caller was involved in this. I'm going to say spat. It was more than a spat, but I'll say it was a spat. And I remember that thinking that they made a roster change for that second match against the Gladiators, and I remember thinking to myself, that's directly because of what we witnessed at their team house.
Yeah.
Anyway, the point is that although people can make references back to how the London Spitfire were previously, that situation sticks in my head so much because it was outrageous. Because that was an absolute outlier situation. Like, that should never happen with a team.
I still feel like
that's not regular. That's not normal.
No, but Josh,
London.
I always think of that moment. Whenever I'm predicting a team, I always think, but what if?
Yeah.
Because that was such an outlier. Because you know the reason that London won against Gladiators and that all the way back then, like in the second match and onwards, because they went into the series thinking, well, this is it. This is our last match together. We're probably all gonna get let go after this. Let's just have fun.
Yeah.
And then they rolled everybody.
Yeah. Can confirm I was there. Yeah. We got fucking boomed. Like they were really good. They were insanely good.
I don't trust the Seoul Dynasty. I
don't at all. No.
I still think they got a little London in them.
The corporation, the org, or the players?
No, the team, the players. Okay. I think there's a little Seoul Dynasty, a little London Spitfire still left in there.
That's the thing. If you make the comparison back to the playoffs of London Spitfire, then you're assuming that they're going to roll now because they've fixed whatever the problem was, or they've given up, or they found their new mental, or whatever. Do I think that's happening? No. Do I shite? I think this is a meta-defined team. I think they only win when the meta is good for them.
I think they need to add some players, but I think we can talk about that later.
Yeah. We'll touch on that later.
I think they need to coach or just run Marvel at main tank whenever it's not if it's not double shield or it's not Winston Tracer, like it was this week. It was Winston Tracer, right? So they actually looked a lot better. If it's not one of those two metas, get Gesture out and just run Marvel, please. Like, for the love of God, run Marvel and Michelle like you did last year. Try and work on that.
Michelle looked really bad on D.Va. Did you watch that game where they subbed him in for that one match? I understand he probably didn't have much screen time and all that kind of stuff, but he looked really bad. If I'm them, I'm like, yo, Janu, what's up, man?
Yes.
Like, I'm sure things are going well.
Is that? Do we have that on the docket?
We do
at some point. Yeah, we've got that at some point.
Yes, number 5.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, we're actually. This is gonna be a long episode. Actually, the rate we're going. So what? Josh, what is your takeaway from this then? You think it's
Seoul Shanghai
a fluke?
No, I don't think it's a fluke. I think that when Seoul are playing their best comps, they're a really good team. Like, they dominated both of the LA teams that first week. That's why even when Seoul was sucking, I kept saying on Pledger, don't forget that this team dominated a couple of weeks ago. Like, they are a good team if you get them on a good meta. And they will still be a good team if you get them on good metas. Wow. But until they prove to me that they can play like Reinhardt D.Va kind of metas, then I ain't predicting them when that's the meta.
You literally you could have taken the name Seoul Dynasty out and inserted the name London Spitfire and thrown the clock back to last year, and all the same things would have been true. Yeah. I mean, they struggled a lot of times last year in certain like metas and situations.
They never got 3-0 rolled in record-breaking times.
Last year?
Yes, they did.
They never.
They've had bad series left and right.
Back to back. Were you times?
Were you on the desk last year?
No, I mean, but that's like an outlier. But when we look at the London, they've had. I think we're looking too much into the London into Spitfire here, or London into Seoul aspect. I think it's just a team that found their footing and made a remarkable turnaround due to probably coaching, some mental turnaround. But my only takeaway from this is that, oh my God, I am so glad that Seoul are hopefully not going to be asked for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Because it would have sucked if they just flopped again.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
So, thankfully, they don't suck that much. Should we move on to Guangzhou, New York?
Yeah, that was an interesting game. I mean, I'm just raking in those Guangzhou bucks.
You really are. And also New York.
Guangzhou bucks.
I've got some Unbox merch on the way. Don't know when it's coming, but at some point.
Yo, the SBB merch.
I think it's probably the SBB merch that they're going to send me. I'm not
so
sure.
it looks good.
Does look kind of clean, but you know what's not clean? This scoreline. Look at this. Woo! Guangzhou 3-1, eh?
And they adjust. New York had like the Rio-ed them, I think, the week before.
Yeah.
I
think Guangzhou, when they play the dive, I actually think they look pretty good. Nero impressed me playing the Tracer. I think they just had some good bits and pieces. And I think they had a good series. I would like to see this series again because they're in the APAC region. I'm sure we'll see it again soon. But I'd love to see them, how it evolves as they go from meta to meta, because Guangzhou this season have looked good some weeks, and then they go into the next week, and you're just like, it doesn't even look like they know what they're doing. But I guess that's hero pools in a nutshell, right?
Yeah. Right.
Why was Who Are You playing this series?
Oh yeah, I don't know why.
Can I ask you guys this question? Like, why was Who Are You playing this series? If the meta is Sombra Tracer or like some double shield stuff, then why are you running Who Are You? Like, he never played any hero that you wouldn't rather have somebody else playing.
We haven't seen
What was Who Are You playing again?
He played, so they ended up playing a lot of double shield stuff, and he ended up actually playing a lot of the May.
Yeah, they've had him in on May in some of the games that I've casted. We haven't really, we've seen Libero come in on some maps to play more May. I remember a game of Paris.
A lot of this match, they were playing Who Are You on May and Libero on McCree. Now,
which is weird.
Tell me that is the best lineup that they thought they could field. Like,
when they 3-0'd them, they just played SBB and Who Are You the whole time. I believe it was Paris they swapped out. Paris they swapped out and put in Libero.
And they ran King's Row Genji Doomfist point A. I mean, what the fuck are New York doing this week?
You guys, we didn't in my game. Have we seen Nene? Have we seen Nene play in a few weeks?
I was thinking the exact same thing. I actually had this moment where I'm like, is Nene still on the roster? When was the last time we saw him?
Yeah.
Look at him now, actually. I mean, I don't know off the top of my head, but
because you think like Trace or Sombra, like you could have played like, or if you wanted to play McCree, you could have played Nene.
Last time we saw Nene was week 5.
Yep. Yeah, it's been a while.
And it's week 14 now.
How many did he play much either? I think he was only in for a couple of maps. I don't think he was in for very long. Like he played like one match.
No.
Like, okay, New York did take a long break. They took a break between week 5 and week 12. So basically, he just hasn't played for the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks, you know, if you include week 14. He didn't play 14, 13, or 12. But
because if you were going to take SBB out in a Tracer McCree week, like the answer wouldn't be play Libero. Who are you? You would put in Nene.
Yeah, they also just didn't play very much Tracer.
Right.
Maybe they didn't think it was the best comp.
The whole APAC region didn't play much dive.
But come on, if you think that double shield May McCree is the best comp,
except for Guangzhou, right? Like,
if you think that double shield May McCree is the best comp, are you still running Libero? Who are you?
No, I mean, but Josh, here's the thing: when these things happen, it's always something internal. There's always too many variables to discern based off of just the paper.
Right. But this is kind of the point that I'm kind of making is that I think it's not so much that NYXL was slipping, that they just strategically didn't have it this week. I think if they play the right roster, this game could even swap over. Like, I don't think that this should lead us to believe that New York are not a top team.
Yeah. I mean, they 3-0'd them, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Josh
a bad week.
Josh gets wind that I'm getting some Ambox merch sent my way, and suddenly changes his tune on New York, doesn't he?
Yeah. It's because Guangzhou's been late on their payments recently.
I got some Seoul Dynasty merchandise recently. Have I seen anything from Guangzhou? No. Is it an excuse though you're shipping from Korea? Yes. But have I seen anything? No, I have not. Send me that merch. I am bribable.
Yeah, get this guy a hat.
What did we think of London? After
the
10
amount
weeks.
of comments on Reddit I've seen recently that are like, bro, that Sideshow guy should just go bald. Like, should just get a That's my brand, the big forehead. I can't be shaving off my hair, otherwise the entire thing
it'll be
is
I don't think you'd look that good bald as well.
I think
I've gone bald before. It looks horrible.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, dreadful.
you would look. Yeah, he'd look pretty horrible. To be honest.
You need like some facial hair, and your facial hair, you just look like your father.
I
you
look a
should
lot
shave your
worse than my
eyebrows
dad.
again. That took a lot away from your forehead.
Did it? Or did it just extend the forehead even
It'd
larger?
be funny though.
That'd be more to it.
It would be.
Just go hairless. You look like that dude in Blade Runner. Anyway.
Smex, the absolute legend of the forehead himself, came in at my chat recently and just said that I should buy a toupee. So maybe I should follow his advice.
Just commit, Josh. Come on,
That'd be pretty cool. That'd be pretty cool.
What do we think about London watching them? Because London, I've been quite impressed with this squad because I was quite low on them coming into the season. You were trying to
You
take
said London, Washington definitely did not happen.
I never said London, Washington.
You did. You said London,
He
Washington.
did say
You mean
London,
London,
Washington.
Guangzhou?
Yeah. London Chengdu. He meant London Chengdu.
How long ago?
Like
You just said
10
it like
seconds
right now.
ago.
Bro, I actually think my brain's losing it. Man. Like in the cast the other night, I said the Guangzhou Spark. And I called Valiant Valorant.
Yo, that's a Jack move right there.
Bro, I'm losing it. I cannot recall saying London, Washington. It's because when we were talking about
like 8
London
seconds
earlier,
ago.
I was trying to think of examples of London when they look shit, and that London-Washington game at the start of the season last year came to mind. I don't know why I said that. Anyway, yeah.
The Spitfire looked good, but is it more of just the Chengdu Hunters cementing themselves as the Washington Justice or Boston Uprising of the APAC region? Like, I don't know. I feel like Chengdu's looked really bad over the last few games that I've seen them.
Chengdu are Chengdu, though. They can bounce back with an upset win at any point, right? Like, this is the team that
But so can anybody else, though. That's at the bottom.
I feel like
I don't
Chengdu's
believe
more.
that. Like, do you ever really think that Boston are going to come out with an upset win, Matt? Are you ever going to predict Boston?
They have Punk now.
Oh,
Yeah, they got Punk now.
We
They
got
Punk
Aussies
now.
boys. Yo,
Aussie
Punk's going
boys,
to turn
Yeah.
this team around.
They could do it.
Or
They could
Boston
do it.
2020
Chew 'em
champions.
up and spit him back out again. The
no,
Boston
I
I
War
wouldn't
Machine.
say that.
Oh, what are we gonna praise Chengdu because they're a more lethal version of the Boston Uprising? Like, I don't know. I wouldn't exactly say, oh yeah, that's a big
I'm
difference.
not
Like,
praising Chengdu though. This is praise for London because I think this is a squad.
Yeah,
that
no.
I had such minimal expectations coming into the league with them because so much, like, there's a lot of the players that are actually quite good. But let's face it, when I was doing my research, there was a lot of these players on this team that I was like, oh, who the fuck? You know what I mean? Actually,
who
mega lol. Now, yes, I've got a smooth brain, and yes, I make jokes about not watching contenders. I'd like to pin that down to not having enough time, but the fact is I'm lazy and I like the bigger product. But
the thing is, though, absolutely no one had ever heard of Sanguinar or Aldo. Like, if you were telling me that you watched all the matches of Sanguinar or Aldo,
that's a bullshit.
you're lying.
My boy Sanguinar. I've been watching him since the good old days when he played on that one team.
On Gen G's 4th roster that was just sat in the
Gen
bottom of
G
Korean
like Gen G C or something like that.
Yeah.
So who do we credit with building this team then?
So we actually did a head-to-head where we talked about the coaching staffs, and London is one that we gave some love to from the standpoint of we have awesome guys on the roster for that, and Josh was kind of talking to some of the scouting that he did earlier in the season. That's like a big thing. I mean, they have Pavane and Agape too, like experienced coaches in the league. I actually think London has a chance to finish in the upper half of the Asian region. I think that it's obviously not an incredibly sexy team in terms of like the players that are on it, in terms of like big names and flashy names, but I think they've put together a really strong roster. They have good coaching. And there's some other teams that I just feel really shitty about there.
It's funny that the two teams that I was, the two teams that I was least happy with going into this year are actually not doing too badly. Valiant and London were the two teams where I was like looking at it, because I was just looking at decision making. I was like, oh my God, what is going on here? But
I think definitely both gotten worse compared to previous years.
Sure. Yes, but I would also say that this is really where you have to credit the coaching staff of both those teams if we're looking at it.
See, I don't actually agree with the London call that you like their coaching staff. I actually want to credit the players. I think they're actually really good. Gliss has shown that he deserves to be in this league, and he's a phenomenal DPS player. Although on May recently, he played really well. I was just looking it up. They played against Guangzhou Charge, and I remember watching that match. I think they just struggle to adapt, and they don't seem to have a lot of depth in their ability to adjust mid-game. And I think that goes back to your coaching. It feels like they come in with a strategy, and then if that doesn't work, then they just lose. And we've seen that throughout the entirety of the season. But I think the pieces are there. J-Mac and Abanar are good. Highly, we know he can play. He played on Seoul. So I think the pieces are there. They just need to adapt.
Who scouted them? That's what I want to know.
I have no idea.
I think that was Awesome Guy, because there was a bunch of talk coming out of the Korean scene that he had scouted these guys from playing on the top Korean ladders and now being in a coaching position. Because obviously, he's a former pro. He plays with the up-and-coming talent that's going to be on the Korean ladder. So that was what the rumors were, that it was a lot of Awesome Guy doing the actual scouting for them in the first place and picking up a lot of unknown talents. I think they did a fairly good job of that. I think that their Junkertown performance when they played against Guangzhou particularly impressed me. They played incredibly tight. They were disciplined. They didn't take risks, and they shut out the Guangzhou Charge.
But I think that's easy when you play on a map. Sorry, I'm yawning. I think that's easy when you're playing on a map like Junkertown that's so wide, and you're playing against a team like Guangzhou who are so flipping loose with the way they play often and the amount of risks that they take.
And Glister on Widow.
Well, Glister was playing quite safe, but he was actually just building a mansion in Happy's head during that match. Or at least on Junkertown, like in the Widow 1v1, because I know what Happy was feeling. It's the feeling that you lose the Widowmaker 1v1, and you need to make some changes, but if you switch off, you've admitted defeat, and you're letting this rookie gain power over
pride.
You. It's like in fantasy novels when someone knows your true name, Like, that's what Glister did. And Happy just didn't want to admit defeat. So,
yeah. I will say, though, that I don't agree with you that London are going to end in the top half. Like, I don't think there's actually any chance that they end in the top half.
The Asian region?
Because you look at who they're playing against. Like, the bottom teams in the Asian region, apart from them, are right now, it's Chengdu. And then the next worst team is, like, Hangzhou and then Guangzhou. And
I think London's better than the Spark right now. I think
London's probably better than the Spark. Yeah,
I would put them there.
They're better than the Spark. That puts them as the third worst team out of what is it? 1, 2, 3,
9,
4, 5,
7,
6,
I guess
7.
There are a lot of good teams up there.
Guys,
so
the main tournament is in 2 weeks.
You don't think they can be better than the Charge if the Charge don't have Neptuno and don't have Nero?
If Neptuno does leave, then that.
What about Nero? Yeah, is Nero?
Nero
has
to do something with his visa, right?
Yeah.
If they lose both of them, I think they can sneak past Guangzhou.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, I always keep forgetting that Nero has to go back and renew his visa.
Yeah, gotta look into that Sombra Widowmaker meta with Eileen and Happy.
So every second week, hopefully they can be good.
Oh, mate, I don't know.
Yeah. But they looked promising after having 10 weeks off. They looked all right.
Well, it's not off though, was it? They were still practicing.
No, sure.
Presumably.
But after we didn't see them and didn't have any data on them for 10 weeks, when they came back, they looked pretty good.
Paris beat Gladiators.
I thought this was one of the best matches of the week.
Yep.
I thought this was great.
The team that just keeps on giving, the team that I expect to be.
And you had no faith in. You didn't predict them.
I didn't.
Everybody who Bren said would suck actually turned out to be good.
We all predicted the same last week.
No, I predicted Paris.
Yeah, I think.
No,
it was only me.
Yeah, one person did take Paris last week.
Yep, it was only
Paris,
me.
Did you? Yeah. That's cute. You must have stolen my predictions. Must have stolen my notes.
Because we made fun of Bren.
Gladiators. Like I always, my thing this season is just not having faith in the Gladiators. I'm still not convinced about Mirror or Jaro. I don't think that they've put up good performances in any match so far. Like the majority of the games, I feel like they're just getting hard carried. And I know that might seem a bit disrespectful to players that are on a team that's winning, but I look at them and I'm like Mirror had that game where he was just he literally had no kills on Torb or something for a whole game. And then most of their games, I feel like it's the tank line doing everything. And in this match, No Smite absolutely outplayed OG as well. Both of the off tanks did an all right job, but No Smite was giving the dick in this game. And it just put them over the edge, especially because the Mirror didn't really do that much on the Sombra. I feel like that's just a straight loss for the Gladiators.
A lot of weird EMPs from the Glads. This week it was an odd game. I think though, like Paris, like their roster doesn't scream that they're gonna like come out and beat a lot of these teams, but I think like we have to start considering them one of the top teams in NA. Like
Paris.
No,
I've been saying this for fucking years.
No, Bren's been saying it for a while, but I haven't believed it. But I think now I'm starting to kind of get on the Bren side of the fence
That's the
here.
first time we've seen them play against a Pacific team.
Yeah.
And they did just come off a 3-0 loss against the Florida Mayhem like 2 weeks ago.
I want to be.
There was a bit of doubt.
I want to disagree under the fact that they are so up and down based on the metas they have. When they have Soon able to play the Tracer, they look significantly better, and they're not forced to play these like unique things. But I have to agree under the fact that once XZ comes back, once Sparkle is available, everything sort of runs. I think their current limitations are built around Nico and Soon. And then if you just add 2 more DPS players that we know are phenomenal, it's like they could be a top tier team.
I would also say it becomes very hard to become extremely confident in teams as time goes on, because when we get into the May tournament playoffs and the actual playoffs, there are no hero pools. So we have not a clue what that does or affects the meta or these teams. So we are basically, the way I think of it is, okay, like they look pretty good over an enormous amount of weeks. You think they have enough to cover it, but we don't know once we take these restrictions off, because we haven't seen the top teams play without these restrictions off.
May McCree.
I think it'll go May
Nobody's
McCree.
got a clue. Nobody's got a
Well,
clue.
we know roughly what it is because you can extrapolate from the data we get given. When the hero pools.
I don't know. With Echo, the thing is, at the beginning of the league, it was May McCree, but Echo being added.
Echo not seeing much playtime this week confirmed to me in my mind that we're not going to see her when hero pools are lifted.
I agree with you. And also Paris was a good team when they were playing May McCree, but that was also when they had XE playing. And
and they had double shield. Like they were playing like Ben Best No Smite, right? With like the double shield instead of like with Hanbin. It's so impossible to like predict what's going to happen, because who knows, maybe we get to the playoffs and they just decide, well, maybe this form of dive with Echo is actually just really, really good when we have everything available to us. It's so hard to know looking forward.
What did you think about their performance this week with Echo Dive? Because they were the only team in the league that played it, and they came out with a win against another decent team. Like Gladiators are a good team. They're not right up at the top, but they're a pretty good team that was playing what was otherwise considered generally to be the meta, which was this Sombra Tracer stuff. And Paris gave them the business, playing a very aggressive Echo Tracer.
it was funny because Nico did an interview and he was like, yeah, everyone's just playing Echo Dive and in scrims. And then we got to the week and they were the only team that played Echo Dive. But I think you have to put that more on the back of what Matt said with just bad EMPs from Mira. Like if you're playing the Sombra Dive, you need to get value out of the EMPs and win fights, and they just weren't.
They weren't getting values out of hacks either. That was one of the things that we kept talking about when we were casting it. It's like the only way for the Gladiators to win that type of matchup, because like although it is Echo Dive, you're really kind of just you're letting the Echo put down some damage, letting people go in and just kind of finishing off. Like if you can get a hack and finish a player off and just kind of move past like the Echo damage, almost like how you would play it against like a Pharah type of composition where you just kind of ignore the Pharah, get a hack on like a support and just dive. They were never able to generate that at all. And then Nico just started to just rain hell from above, and they just didn't do anything about it. It was a really odd
I thought
sequence of events.
I thought it was really interesting how No Smite looked a lot better than OG in this series. Yeah. And I was thinking to myself, is that because playing against an Echo who can burst you down as tank like is more oppressive than playing against the hacks when the Sombra isn't really that good? I feel like that's part of the reason that the Paris tanks looked so much better in this game is not because No Smite's actually a freak beast who's better than OG, which, you know, he might be at the end of the day. No Smite hasn't had an opportunity to play the Winston in a long time, and his Winston previously was pretty good. But No Smite looked significantly better in this series, like amazing primals, all of this stuff. And you would expect that playing against a Sombra, it's really hard normally to play as a but Mira just didn't do it.
But anything. I will say though, when your team plays Sombra and your Sombra is not getting EMPs and not getting hacks, and you're a Winston and you can't like initiate anything, you're gonna look like shit. Because what are you doing? You're just sitting around, just waiting for, like, you're just waiting.
Especially Echo's kit. Like the whole thing of Winston is dive in, get somewhat low, and then jump out. Well, guess what? Echo has a beam that kills you instantly if you try and do that. So like I think OG was just getting punished time after time by Nika.
Yeah, if you're not forcing the other team to react to the hack and the dive that comes through, and they can just dictate the pace in that matchup, your Winston's just kind of sitting around with his bubble waiting to die.
Yeah. All right, what do you think about Dallas as I go make a cup of tea?
Oh my God. I mean, if you want to talk about dreadful Sombra gameplay, then may I introduce Hisu.
He got better as the series went on.
Except I agree, but then I was also watching Anubis, which was the final map, and still about 50% of his EMPs were dog shit.
Bro, yeah, but 0% in the earlier in the match. Like,
bro, go back and watch Busan, dude. That he had one EMP on Mecha Base that I was just kind of like, what in the fuck was that? They had lost 4 players. Yeah. He runs in and just EMPs and translocates out. I was like, what the fuck was that? I was like, oh, they're switching off of it, and then he just comes right back out. I was like, oh, yeah, because
I did ult economy on it. He died, and then I was like, why is Philly throwing ults into this fight? They had lost, and I was like, wow, that was the worst play ever. And then Hisu comes in and yeets his EMP out. It was just, even Doha kind of struggled at the start of the series. Like, it just really, it was great dive, and they are phenomenal players, but the Sombra had a lot left to be desired.
I thought Doha looked great throughout the whole series as an average, though. You didn't
had
think?
Some bad ones.
I thought they were both suspect, dude. They were both suspect, I think.
Because I was looking at Hisu so much, but Doha's Sombra really impressed me. And I thought that with Doha on the Sombra and Decay on the Tracer, this has got to be... the fact that you can run Gamsu and No on dive tanks, which is where they made their name. It's like where they cut their knuckles. Is that a phrase?
Yes.
It seems like it would be the best comp or the best meta for Dallas Fuel ever. Like, this really should be peak Dallas. You got Crimdo on Moira where he can escape. You got Decay on Tracer, Doha on Sombra, and then you got dive tanks. Like, this should be peak Dallas.
Where this team failed, in my opinion, against the Philly Fusion was the support line. I think Funny Astro was phenomenal throughout that entire series. He had beat after beat, covering it down on Doha. And that's why I think Doha kind of struggled, because I think Funny Astro was playing so well. Well, I think Closer just really struggled in this match. He got EMP'd so many times. He was trying to hide and then got caught out of position a lot of times. It was just... I think Closer needs to pick it up, and then they can be the best team in that.
Closer's playing against a Sombra that's completely off their game in the first couple of maps as well, just getting literally free sound barriers. And so the fact that he's still bad on average throughout the series is damn it.
It was
That's
no
what I mean,
bueno.
right?
No bueno.
Yeah. But this was a very entertaining match.
It was great.
Really.
Well, we do rag on the field a bit, but I think with Dallas, when you have Doha and Decay, I think they've kind of proven you're really in any series with those guys. Like, those guys can just fucking kill.
Yeah.
This could have been a win for Dallas, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, the first time definitely could have gone their way.
But that's what I mean. Like, with those two guys and how consistent they've been so far and how, like, strong they are on numerous heroes, you're going to contend with most of the teams in NA. Like, I don't know how many other damage dealer duos are going to blow them out of the water in, like, a head-to-head.
Yeah.
Especially with Gamsu and Note really stepping it up this season. I had my doubts about those two players. We know they're veterans of the league and they've been around so long, but neither of them had a very good season 2. And coming into season 3, I'm like, this is not the tank line that's going to push Dallas out, but they've been phenomenal, especially Gamsu on the Winston when he can play the dive like he did back in the day. He looked really good, and Note's been impressing me every match. So
Gamsu and Note, the way I always kind of think about them is like, they're not going to, like, that tank line is not going to win you series, but they're also not going to put you out of series by just making bonehead dumb plays.
Yeah.
Like, they're just extremely consistent, like, always, like, in the right place, like, most of the time making solid decisions. Like, they're perfectly fine.
I was worried about Note's ability to play other heroes other than Diva at the beginning of the season. And I thought that actually might lose them games, you know? They might stop being super consistent.
But now all you got to know how to play is Diva and Sigma, so you're good.
Yeah, Note's actually been okay.
His Sigma was good when he played it. Who did he play it against? He looked really good in one match. I can't remember who it was against a couple of weeks ago.
Probably fucking Boston.
Blanking.
Boston.
It was not.
Yeah, it was Boston.
Might have been Washington, actually.
Houston, Washington. Yeah.
Toronto.
Toronto. Yeah. One of those.
Yeah. What do we think? I do think that the support line is what you've always got to ask questions about, but Dallas seem like they're in a pretty... I feel like Dallas are the kind of team that could upset a top team now that they have Decay and Doha on full...
Yep, absolutely.
Full spec.
Do we think about this Vancouver Titans squad then?
Oh, God.
Which one? The one that's gone or the new one?
The new one.
Okay, so I casted their game, the first one.
Yeah.
I think they look like a slightly better Boston at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think they're going to, like, be horrific.
I think they need a respectable 17th, 18th. You know?
Yeah, wait a second though, because you've always got to add the caveat that these are one of the only. Is this the only team in the league that's playing with their players from fucking Narnia?
What about Paris? They got fucking
Paris has got
Fielder.
Fielder playing on 200 ping.
The only player that's playing on 200 ping in the rest of the league. And the Vancouver Titans are the most spread out team across the entirety of OWL. They've got to be. Like they have PSA playing from Saudi fucking Arabia.
Yeah, and trust me. Now I've never been to Saudi Arabia, but I know that the routing's bad.
Me.
The internet routing in Saudi Arabia is bad. I'm telling you.
Why? Is it because of the rock? I see you play GeoGuessr. You're always talking about the rocks and the ground.
It's nothing to do with the geography, Matt. Nothing to do with geography. Just the internet infrastructure is dog shit in the Middle East, I think.
He played good. He played good.
Yeah,
though.
I think that's the thing about it is, like, I don't think you can even blame KSA on his high ping. I think he played really good, especially in that second series that he played against the team that I can't remember. And
Florida was the second one, I think. They played against Washington and Florida.
Yeah, Florida. I actually think he looked pretty good in Florida when they were putting up a fight against this team. I actually think they weren't as bad. But I think the person who stood out as, like, the weak link, I hate to be like the negative, but Kaka was just dying left and right. He was getting caught. He wasn't doing healing. His ult charge was dreadful. Like, I know he's been good in contenders, but bad weekend. I'll give him a benefit of the doubt, but I need him to step up.
Give him a bit more time.
Scott wants one last try, dude.
Kurt wanted us to talk about the Photoshops.
They're so bad. I could do better, dude. I really think I could do better.
Yo, somebody help my man Rolf's neck, bro.
Look at Rolf, bro. Dalton. Oh my goodness.
I want to know whose body that was. Is
They use a snipping tool,
it's
dude.
like-
and just
It's bumper or...
Can you zoom in on that, Cut? You get some keyboard, some Control Plus.
Enhance.
Can we enhance that bad boy? Oh my god.
we gotta get the Photoshop out.
Like, I don't want people to think that we're taking the piss out of Dalton here, but look at Rolf's. His head isn't even on his shoulders properly. Sooner looks look at that. His head's to the right. Like his neck's sprouting out of his left shoulder.
That's a feels bad man, you know. But you know they didn't have much time to do these because they only announced the roster 5 minutes before they went live.
True.
Yeah, true.
Nothing better.
Nothing more that the Titans could have done, as we know from many different reports from around the scene. Nothing more the Titans.
Nothing they could have done. There's nothing they could have done. They didn't know that this was going to happen.
They didn't know that picking up Korean players would require them to communicate in Korean. How
could they have foreseen that?
Ridiculous.
How are they supposed to know?
What? They needed a translator. Why don't they just speak English? They live in America.
Oh my god.
I think this new Titans, though, I think would they beat Boston?
Yeah. They would have beat Washington with more time. If they had more time to practice, I think you give them a week or two, they would have beat Washington.
Stratus popped off on the Sombra.
Yeah.
He's not there
Stratus'
anymore,
last game, he went out swinging. That boy was going for it.
I would have liked to see Corey just play one more and just fucking dunk. I would have fucking insta-lock fucking Widowmaker McCree and just fucking go to town.
Just come in one trick Widow.
Just come in, just one last ride, him and Stratus. Just play fucking
play Jet.
Crazy.
Just get in there, play Jet.
Yeah, just play Jet. Yeah. Gotta give him a Vandal.
Yeah, I agree with you though, Josh. I think a solid 17, maybe 16th place finish.
Yeah.
I think in 2 weeks' time they will beat a handful of teams in the league.
Yeah.
I think there's only 2 teams. I think they're only going to be beating Justice and Boston.
Yeah.
Because the next worst team
Who's that?
Toronto?
is Toronto. And
Houston
maybe
on a bad day.
on a very bad day.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're going to beat either of those teams. Yeah. I think if they were a team at the beginning of the season, and if they were playing in a team house with a proper coaching staff that have been with them the entire time and building them up, then okay, there's a chance for this team. But my problem with watching the Vancouver Titans right now, and the reason that I'm not really invested in them at all as players, is that I cannot.
That's mean.
Well, this is why I'm gonna.
That's mean. Apologize.
Say you're sorry.
It's not that I want to see them fail at all. I'm just not invested in their success because I fundamentally don't believe that the Vancouver Titans are going to keep them on for next season, because it just feels to me like a stopgap team. It was just they just sucked up whoever was available in the time that was there, and so in some sense, I suppose they're playing for their.
If they play good, you don't know.
Yeah.
They haven't been put in a position to play well. They haven't been put in a position to ever make playoffs. If playoffs,
they haven't been put in a position to succeed. But the Titans org doesn't feel like a team that want to succeed.
I mean, they've
given up at this point.
First place.
What?
The Titans org wanted to succeed when they picked up Runaway in the first place. That they picked up a great contenders team. They wanted to win.
Yeah, that worked out well.
Yeah, but if they wanted to succeed this year, why would you get rid of your roster that made finals? It doesn't make.
Well, because there were
translators are expensive.
Yep. Yep.
Can we talk about where those Titans players may go?
Well, actually, no. We don't have that topic coming up yet.
Oh, okay.
Well, but we can actually. It works out quite naturally. We can talk about it now.
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of teams that could do good bits with the pieces of the Titans.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? I don't think this would happen, but imagine if Slime went to Dallas.
That'd be sick.
How good of a pickup would that be?
I want Slime to go to Florida.
Ooh.
I think Chris has been better, but yes, Slime is
that'd be sick.
Florida.
Florida are showing some real promise recently, and when I look at that roster and when I see them play, and that's right, actually, Scott, I haven't realized that Chris has been feeding recently, but definitely in previous games, at the beginning of the season or 3 weeks ago, I was like, holy shit, get this guy off the team. For the love of God.
Let's go one by one down their roster and just kind of find them new homes. I think Slime to Florida or Dallas would be sick.
Dallas is a great shot. I haven't actually thought about that before, but I think that, I don't think that Closer is the problem, but I think that Slime fits where Dallas want to go.
Would Slime make Soul Dynasty an improved team with his shot calling instead of?
I don't really know where Toby stands right now on this lineup. It's kind of hard to see his effect.
I don't think Toby's a shot caller.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't actually know who the shot caller is. I assume it's Gesture and Badoshin because they used to do it for London.
Maybe, yeah.
I think that Toby has been pretty good with his Batiste recently. That's what the team's been mostly playing. I haven't noticed him be bad. I don't think that they upgrade, so I would rather see Slime come to better.
He'd be making more of an impact on Florida.
In terms of adding into a roster and seeing a meteoric improvement, Florida or Dallas.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Twilight.
Ooh.
So this might be wild.
Dynasty?
I want him to go to Shock.
Somebody said that in my chat, and I don't know if I agree.
Why?
So did you see the Twitch clip of Super trying to either debate or hint that the San Francisco Shock are going to pick up somebody from the Vancouver Titans, or we're at least thinking about it? He had this whole clip where he was like, chat, wouldn't it be crazy? No. Wouldn't it be crazy if we picked up somebody from the Vancouver Titans? Like, he's either totally debating or he's trying to indicate something. But I think that considering they benched Violet in an Ana meta and ran Architect, it seems to me that there's a clear hole in the team for an Ana player, and Twilight is the Ana player.
What do you mean? They got Architect?
You really have Architect.
That just locks you into playing Ana then.
Architect's kind of like flexi tape. You just slam him onto any problem and he fixes it.
I don't want to derail this, but you know who I would love to see join the Shock that I think would have crazy impact now that Sinatra's gone? Haksal. If you add Haksal's Doomfist and Genji onto that Shock roster,
sure,
I think that would be insane.
What other places for Twilight?
Sorry?
What other places where you see Twilight go? Soul Dynasty for play him over Badoshin?
I don't think that
Houston.
would be an upgrade.
Houston?
See, I think they'd still run Raucous. I think they've got something in the contract somewhere that says that Raucous must play a certain amount of games.
I wonder though if Houston makes a play for some of them though, because of Harsh's connection.
They have an 11-man roster right now, right?
Yeah. Say again, Josh.
They have an 11-man roster. Houston Outlaws.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, I think they did have 12, but I think they said goodbye to Cool Matt and somebody else.
What about Twilight to Paris?
Oh,
mate, they've already got Fielder.
They just got Fielder though. Yeah.
Fielder's been kind of nutty. So if they,
especially on Ana, right? Like on 200 ping Ana, he's killing it.
He's popping off. Just another idea. So you said
there's also kind of teams that would be good for them to go to, but they don't deserve that kind of fate.
Yeah, they
yeah.
We would love any of these players. So would the Justice, but it's am I gonna send one of the Titans to there? That would be a personal living hell for those people.
Oh, what about Twilight to Dallas?
Yeah,
that would be fatty.
Mate,
actually.
Twilight Slime. You know that Dallas like to hand out the big bucks.
That's true.
Listen.
Twilight Slime, Doa Decay.
Bro, send that roster to the playoffs.
I would actually believe in Dallas for once in my life, and I played for them.
Sign me up.
That would be pretty good.
God, what a fat roster.
So you said Hacksaw to the Shock. I would like to see Hacksaw go to Hangzhou to play with Gushui and Godsby.
Holy hell yeah.
And Hacksaw with IDK, Bebe, Gushui, and Godsby would be fat.
I would just love to see the whole Titans DPS lineup go to the Hangzhou Spark. I think that would be sick.
Oh, if you gave the Spark, Janu and Hacksaw to play with Gushui, Godsby, IDK, and Bebe, that's a nutty roster.
That's good.
That's a fat team.
Particularly though, it's Hacksaw that makes the biggest difference. Because Adora has, I feel like a broken record always bringing this up every time I talk about the Spark, but Adora just doesn't cut the mustard. Yeah. He's just nowhere near the rest of that team.
And Godsby is good.
Carrying these motherfuckers in every game.
Godsby is actually just hard carrying. I feel so bad for that guy.
I would run Godsby over Stitch and Sominsu every day of the week, but Haxal, I would insta-lock that guy immediately.
That team would be a difference maker in the Asian region then.
Yeah,
I really think so, especially because they have aggressive tendencies with IDK and Gushui.
Could you imagine the pressure that Gushui, IDK, and Haxal could put on teams?
Yeah,
be nasty, absolutely nasty. I think just a slam dunk.
Ru Jae Hong.
Ru Jae Hong is the same as Twilight, in my opinion. It's the same kind of teams.
Yeah.
Like Dallas. Oh God, how amazingly would he fit on Dallas? Like Dallas is a retirement home anyway, so send all but where it'll actually make a difference, right? Like he'll actually.
Yeah.
I don't think he would enjoy it. Like I think the other thing to consider with all of these Titans players is that they probably want to be on full Korean rosters, especially since they're now settled in Korea. So you're mostly thinking APAC teams. So it's unlikely they'll go to like a Dallas or a Houston or a Boston or a Justice.
Who else could Hacksaw realistically fit into? Shanghai has too many DPS. The Shock would be like an outlier.
I'm actually
Would New York go?
I'm quite surprised that none of us have mentioned Twilight Warrior Jae-Hong to Atlanta.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's the entirely wrong team dynamic for one of those players.
In what way? You mean in terms of how they like to play?
Atlanta are very much an American team full of bros, and
You're just talking about the general culture of the team.
Yeah.
yeah, I think so. I mean,
Ryu Jae-Hong can be one of the boys.
I think that might be difficult for him. He's only ever played on full Korean lineups.
He could play beer pong.
I think that he'd probably love it. Like I think that he is just a
Go
child.
to what do they call it? What's the place called in Korea? Monday party or something?
This is off topic, but I mean, I guess you brought up Jae-Hong. Why not Jae-Hong to the Shock to fill that Ana spot?
See, I don't think Jae-Hong would have a massive impact no matter what team he goes to. I think he's still solid, and I think he can still be in the league, but I don't think he's like these other Vancouver Titans players that you say, you add him, and this team just like goes, right? Like we say with Janu, like we say with Haksor. I think he's solid, but I don't think, like, I still think I'd play Violet over Jae-Hong from what I've seen from him this season.
Oh, it's called Thursday Party.
I don't know what the hell you're talking
Yeah,
about.
I don't know.
It's a meme in Korea. There's a bar called Thursday Party, and it's known as the foreigner place because it's like it's like a meme where if you go there, it's more white people than there are Koreans.
Right.
And it's where Korean women go up to pick up white guys. Don't ask me how I know that.
Do you think NYXL would entertain Hacksaw?
It's not.
Yeah.
Over myself.
Oh,
Jesus.
Disgusting.
Do you think NYXL would entertain like Hacksaw or Janu?
Sorry?
I don't think it would make a difference for them. I think that actually it would go counter to what they would like to play. I feel like what's the point in getting Hacksaw when you already have Who Are You? And you're already missing him anyway by putting him on into play like May and stuff. And then Hopper is more what New York need than a Janu, I think.
More aggression, yeah.
Yeah, a bit more aggression, a bit more playmaking potential. I think that Janu is just an absolute lock for the Seoul Dynasty. Like if he goes to any other team, then it's a waste.
If he has the opportunity to go there, I'd be shocked if he doesn't go there. They are by far a championship caliber team. I think if they add him to Seoul, yeah.
Rhea, I think, is good. Like I think that Rhea was a top 5 main tank last year.
He's had some up and down performances though lately, and like.
Yeah, I don't think he's been as good this year, but I think he can get back to that. And I don't think that Janu being on there would add much.
Here's a fucking wild scenario, Josh. Do you think the Gladiators make a play for Hacksaw? And have Hacksaw and Bird Ring?
That would be incredible. That's there were 2 other places that I was going to bring up for Hacksaw, and I think a huge one is the Gladiators.
Yeah.
If the Gladiators can get hold of him, then I believe.
I think in space, that would be sick.
I think
I have not believed in Gladiators the entire season because Mira and Jaru just for me are like an adorer.
There was a rumor going around that there was something trying to be worked out, I think, where Hacksaw was going to play for Gladiators.
That would be amazing.
Earlier in the season or recently?
This is before the season, I think. You're looking at my phone for answers. You're not going to get them. There's nothing written on that.
The other place where I could see
who else
Hacksaw having a large impact is Guangzhou if Nero has to.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well.
Because if Nero has to renew his visa, Guangzhou are fucked. Like they're genuinely fucked. If they don't have a flex DPS, like they just have nobody that plays projectile apart from Eileen plays Doomfist if you want to consider that.
Do you think Fisher finds a home?
I think he should. One?
I don't think he wants a home.
Yeah.
You don't think he wants to?
I think it's right. It's like actually just. It's written in the script at this point, surely, that Fisher Fisher wasn't the cause of a team imploding.
I don't think that you can blame him for this one.
No,
right?
you definitely can. It's not his fault. Like
Yeah.
it's actually not. All the evidence points away from Fisher. Fisher came into this team a redeemed man in my eyes. He shaves his head. He goes on some quest of redemption, and doesn't get it. He doesn't get his grand finals. This guy is such a talented player. Fisher. He's so good.
This should have been the redemption arc.
This should have been the redemption arc, and he was denied it. So what team does he go to for the redemption arc?
He has said that he only wants to play on full Korean rosters.
Yeah, I don't see him playing on a mixed roster again.
Do you think he'd play on Shock?
Okay, no. What about this? What if he went to Florida?
I thought Florida.
I think he could add a lot to Florida. Like, I know they would have 3 main tanks, but I haven't been overly impressed. Like, they've been solid on the Florida, but like that is another player that could take this team to the next level. Just his aggression, his sheer like shot calling, I think could really do it for him.
That is interesting.
What about the Philadelphia Fusion?
I mean, they've got all the talent.
Sato's really good. Like
as like an insurance to Sato in case there's a meta where there's some more Reinhardt or something.
I come back to this aspect of I don't think Fisher will play for a non-full Korean team. Like, I think he is interested in playing for. I think the guys probably, and most of the people on the Titans are going to be reluctant to even move out of Korea right now.
Yeah.
Right. That's why I've been kind of guessing.
Because, you know, they had like a fucked up situation with the Titans. Are they going to move back to America for the chance of like something getting screwed up? Even if it's not via ignorance or malice, even if it's just like randomly via COVID.
What about
not trusting?
What about London for any of these guys? Because London has some good up and coming players. What if London were to add like 1 or 2?
They could benefit from a lot of people. I think if you sent that your support line to London, I think that's where they can be the most improved. Like if you send Slime and you send Twilight, I think that would be a really good roster. I think Glister, and then maybe you send Huxell there as well. Like if you send a bunch of them, and London pulled out the money, I think it could be a 16.
Glister, Hacksaw, Slime.
Imagine the old Vancouver Titans, but with Glister instead of Stitch or Sominsu.
Yeah, exactly.
That roster slaps.
Yeah, they kind of pound.
I don't think London are in the business, though, of picking up any expensive contracts. Like, I think they clearly...
Do they have expensive contracts? Like, that's the question, like, that we don't really know is, like, how expensive are these plays?
I can't hear Josh. What are you saying?
There's no buyout now.
I don't think that's how it works.
I'm not sure how that works,
Yeah,
but
we're not sure how it works.
As far as I can infer, though, it seems like they mutually parted ways. They're not required to pay the contracts anymore, from what Fisher was saying on stream, and so that means that no buyouts. So you would assume that if there's no buyouts and the players aren't currently being paid, that they've lost a lot of leverage, and probably you can get them for fairly cheap.
What team would be better? The Vancouver support core. And I guess, would you send the tanks to London as well to play basically Vancouver minus Stitch plus Glister, or Hacksaw to Hangzhou?
I think Hacksaw to Hangzhou would be the biggest bang for your buck upgrade.
For one player.
Yeah.
I just send everyone to the places that I thought they would make the most impact. Like, London can't take everybody, right?
Right.
I would say attitude.
I'd say that if London can get Fisher or one of the supports,
I'm just going to say this. It's been pissing me off the entire podcast. Nothing to do with you lot. I had ramen before, just a minute ago.
Yeah, I remember that.
That dried seaweed I put in it. I must have something stuck in my tooth at the back or something, because every time I'm taking a swig of tea, I just taste the sea.
Oh, thanks for bringing that up.
Thanks.
What were you saying?
The Fisher redemption story going back to London to help train a bunch of new players.
You can't join the 5th team if you've already been on the team.
That would be kind of cool.
That would be incredible. Like, I would send Fisher to London just for the meme value. I'd also send Jaehong to London as well. Like, I think that those 2 players, you know, they make the biggest impact in London. I'd send Janu to Seoul. I'd send Haxel to Spark. I struggle.
Where do the supports go?
Sominsu. Like, I would send Twilight to fucking God knows where, like Shock maybe, and Slime to Florida. Like, I think anywhere you send them is pretty decent. But like, what the hell do you do with Stitch and Sominsu? Especially Sominsu. Like, is there any team that would be improved by the addition of Sominsu?
What?
Who doesn't have like a lot of like DPS? Could Sominsu go to like Guangzhou?
I'd rather Jerry than Sominsu, and I don't mean that to take the
New
piss
York?
out. Like I actually would.
Well, that's the biggest issue with
DPS.
it's the biggest issue with Titans is that there's some players that the only reason they're good is because they were in the Titans. You know what I mean? Like they worked in that team environment.
Dude, get Stitch and Sominsu to Washington, dude.
They need him now. They actually don't have enough.
They don't. They just have Tuba.
My question about those players is, like, obviously it'd be great to see them come to North American region, but can they even make it to the North American region in the short amount of time that is the season? Like visas, all those kind of issues,
right?
Like,
do they even have language ability to be able to communicate in a mixed roster team?
Yeah, we don't know.
Yeah, I don't think there really are homes for Stitch and Somitsu, whereas the rest of the roster is pretty sick.
And thus, we get to the core of the problem.
What?
Which is?
continue.
I was waiting for somebody else to say what it was.
Oh.
What's the core of the problem, Bren?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I like wise man Bren. He spits out the setup without.
I was like, where are we going with this? I was like, what is this?
What I wanted to say was, sorry, May tournament, because that's coming up. And funny enough, we literally have never spoken about it, I think, once on the OWL broadcast, despite the fact that it's happening in 2 weeks.
Yeah, we do.
Well, I don't think we speak about it enough on the OWL broadcast, because if I don't know what's going on, the people watching definitely don't know what's going on.
There haven't been enough matches played to make it like relevant. Like we talked about it coming into this weekend, and it was just like a lot of ones and zeros, and I'm like, well, it's
starting to be relevant now, though.
It is relevant now.
It was relevant when me and Josh were cast in Shanghai because they just come off the back of a loss to Seoul, and it's actually going to be affecting the seeding. I think the seeding for the Asian tournament side is going to be very, very close. Do they have an updated standing anywhere?
Like, I know Guangzhou's at the top.
I don't think on the site.
They do on Liquipedia. They've got a May standings. It's Asia standings in May and North America standings in May.
Okay, we're going to try and find that now.
But also, it's not. I don't think it's 100% accurate, but it might be. I don't know. It's a weird system because we've changed the system so many times because of COVID, because it just fucked the season up. Like it absolutely.
Well, can I just say, I am so hyped for this May tournament to kick off.
Yeah.
Really good.
We're going to have no hero pools, so we get to see the teams playing one consistent meta over the course of however long the tournament is. I actually don't even know if it's a weekend.
It's a weekend. It's a weekend, yeah. It's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
So over the course of the weekend, we get to see a meta develop. We get to see teams actually get good at it. We get to see a bracket. I think there's an upper bracket.
No,
and only an upper bracket.
There's a seeding bracket, and then it's just a single elimination.
A single limb.
It's only single limb, but hey, storylines are going to develop.
Yeah.
People are going to cry.
So there is an updated standings on Liquipedia. I've just linked it in the Discord as well.
Yeah.
I don't know whether we have the facility to pull it up on screen, but I can walk you guys through.
I'm just talking because I don't know.
Asia,
here we go.
Oh, yeah, there we go. The Asia standings right now. Guangzhou Charge are in the lead, and also what you got to remember is that these aren't like we had in season 1 where everyone plays round robins. There isn't enough time to be able to do that.
Right.
So people play most of their opponents in Asia, but they don't actually play everyone. They play 4 games, and there's 6 opponents, so everybody misses out 2 opponents throughout this time, and that's assuming they don't double up. So some people will have easier schedules than others, but it's kind of interesting how this is going to pan out, because at the moment, 2 of the teams you would say are the best in the region, Seoul and New York, are at the bottom.
Does everybody make it in the Asia region, like how in A?
Yes.
Yeah. I think 6 and 7 play. They play 6 and 7 play,
Gotcha.
and then they just go into the bracket.
Yeah, because NA it'll be 12 against 13 you play to get it to have a spot.
Every month, a new toilet bowl. Which is kind of fun.
I'm kind of down for it though. Like, if this is the system, I'm all for it.
It adds value to each match, right? And like it's going to be cool to see a tournament where it's like it doesn't have massive impact, but people are playing for pride, and you've seen teams actually do that. When we saw the stage playoffs later in the season, actually meant a lot to teams, and I think this will mean a lot to teams winning these May tournaments.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Monty always used to be the Debbie Downer, like, why the fuck are teams even playing? They don't care. It doesn't count towards the end of playoffs. The teams have lost the plot by now. They're just playing every week when they get shipped out. They don't know what the hell they're playing for. They just know that they're geared up to win. Like, they just want to win, and they don't give a fuck what's in the future. They just want to win.
Just playing to win.
Yeah.
Playing to win, baby.
I'm excited for the May tournament. I hope we keep it going after May.
Yeah.
I agree as well. I mean, I hope that we don't, because COVID stops. There's some vaccine and everyone can go back to normal.
It's wishful thinking there, Josh.
I don't think that's actually realistic. Who do you think are the forerunners in both of these? Like, who do you expect to be the top teams?
Shock. Well, okay, top teams is in the top seed or the team that wins.
Consider there's no hero pools. Like, this isn't the same as power rankings. There are no hero pools.
I would say
Shock Shanghai.
Shock and I would say Shock and Philly like in the finals in NA, and then like a Shanghai, New York.
Shanghai. I could see Seoul.
Yeah, Seoul.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of bonkers if we don't get Shock Fusion and Shanghai.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
is it bonkers?
Yeah, I don't see
You
any
think
other
you don't
team
see a
matchup.
world in which Paris makes a run for it?
No. I don't think Paris should go to 5 every time with Philly.
What did you say, Josh?
The chances of them beating Fusion and Shock, considering that they've always gone to 5 maps against the Fusion, there is a chance that they beat them.
Well,
But
recently,
Shock and the Fusion.
Shock have been struggling. Like with recent scrims, this is like public knowledge. Shock had a really bad week this week with scrims. Yes, and all the players were coming out and saying like, "Sorry, we've been struggling mentally. Scrims weren't going well at all." I think they went into the match against Toronto not expecting to win it. That's how badly it was going with them internally.
Well,
and I think
the first map.
I mean, a big part of it is, from what I can tell, from what the players have said, is the stressful scenarios of COVID and like not really having an idea where to play for. A lot of the players on Shock are in a foreign country.
Man, I will just say as well, man, it fucking annoys the shit out of me to hear people commenting on the Overwatch League team situation that have no idea about the league as well. Like, I do appreciate Richard Lewis and the work that he does around the esports scene, but he released a video a couple of days ago that was talking about like the whole, like the turmoil that's been happening in NL recently and reporting on it, because it is big esports news, like people leaving, and there's been a lot of players leaving recently from the Overwatch League. But like one of the things that everybody, not just Richard, but like Monty as well, was tweeting recently, just at you actually, Custa, as well.
Oh yeah, I remember.
And they all are assuming that everyone is just focused on Valorant, like it's a just Overwatch or Valorant. Like everyone that's leaving, like Hip and Gray and all of these people.
I think the ones that you would.
Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, these guys aren't going Valorant Pro. They're leaving because, and like Stratus and stuff, these people are leaving because it's a stressful situation to be a pro right now.
Yeah.
Inside the COVID situation. Like, this isn't what they signed up for, to be playing inside of their apartments, locked inside, playing video games all day. Like, they signed up to travel and go around everywhere and be competing on stage. Like, the pro career is about the highs being balanced with the lows. And if you don't have the highs of being able to play on stage in front of a crowd, then all you've got are the lows. All you've got is playing all the time in front of a
Thorin. All right, calm it down a little bit. Okay.
It's annoying. It's. I feel like you have to understand the balance that pro players are going through, and it's a very stressful time for them. And it's not just about,
of course,
the fact that some fresh new thing is out on the horizon. People,
I think it's just because the two names that everybody like. I think like Stratus and Gray and some of those guys, like they don't have as big a following as like Corey and Sinatra, and they both leave for a game, right?
Those reasons are totally valid. They went to greener pastures elsewhere, but there are, I think, to say that it's just Owl versus Valorant is missing the point of how stressful it is for pros right now, just in the situation that we're in. Like, you're ignoring the wider facet of just, it's hard right now being a pro. You're playing locked in kind of like a Groundhog Day situation without any idea of when you're next going to be able to get out on the main stage and play and play for something that means something to you.
Well, let's think about it like this. We're all going insane, stuck inside, feeling like we're stuck in the same day. Imagine if you had to scrim like 6 hours a day, 7 hours a day, and then you play like a match sporadically every now and then. And sometimes you take like these massive breaks. Like we saw like some of these teams took like 6-week breaks. Like that's really hard to live through, especially if you're quarantined. These players that are in foreign countries, like I'm sure like Gray and Hip, like they probably just wanted to go home at the end of the day.
Yeah,
like
some players as well will have like families, especially families in Europe where it's been particularly bad, and they're worried about them, or they've had to stop work, and so they're sending money back to them and concerned about their well-being as well. This is a hard time to be stuck away from your family.
Yeah.
Well,
but
Bren, the host.
Yeah.
No, I mean I appreciate that little rant. That's going to be clipped out. It's a great little clickbait moment.
I can't believe Josh hates Monty. I can't.
I'll take it away from there. We've already covered Corey and Stratus retiring kind of in that talk as well. But I mean, just general overarching thoughts. Obviously, I think I speak for all of us saying
It's sad to see both of them go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sad to see him go, but wishing both of them the best. Stratus moving into content creation, Corey going into Valorant. So
did you see that clip that he had, that 1v5?
Oh mate, yeah.
He's gonna be all right, guys. Don't worry about him.
Do you know what I love the most is reading the comments from the new, like the Valorant community is like this weird mix of CS League players, occasionally an Overwatch player, but in general, generally speaking, it's taking over. Someone was playing then. It's taken over the traits of a lot of those communities, and the CS community is so insecure about Overwatch players moving into it.
They hate us.
Moving into Valorant as a game, and they're like, "Well, yeah, I don't think it's going to be doing well."
Yeah.
I don't know what this is.
Wait, this is
Stratus.
Stratus is going to Valorant too.
Nah, Corey.
Look at this.
Yeah.
This clip was incredible.
Josh, you just lied to us. He said that he didn't go. Look at it. This looks like
Whoa.
what the hell?
That's a great video.
Stratus very naturally lends himself to going.
He's funny.
He's gonna be great.
He's
he's
gonna be good, man.
He is very funny, and I think he'll do well.
That Corey clip gained some traction. All the comments were like, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see.
I hold the kind of same opinion as well, though, of those Redditors, and for a different reason. Like those guys just think that Overwatch pros are shite and have no aim, even though Corey is, like an
That's
absolute.
just me, guys. Just the support Mercy players. Come on.
A bad name for us.
But I do hold a similar opinion where it's like, I'm just. You can be amazing in the beta and in ranked, but if you don't have a team, like I'm okay. He's given up a lot. Like I think that Fion had a great point when he tweeted about it recently. That's like, okay, Corey's that good, and so is Sinatra. That if they wanted to walk back into the Overwatch League, they'd have jobs. Yeah. So it ain't that much of a risk for them, really.
But there's some people who can't.
Exactly, and for them, it really is a risk. But sure, for Corey and Sinatra, it does make sense for them.
Yeah,
the streams pop off as well, which I hope that Corey's does. I hope that the Valorant community welcome him with open arms.
Corey was hovering around 500 viewers when I was watching him play Valorant.
Especially,
I think it's kind of cool. Yeah.
Especially when you think about the money, like the rumors about how much money is being thrown around in that scene. It's like, well, is the decision really that bad? Like at this moment, like who knows? To do something that you will love.
Dude, I think the salaries in esports are
Absurd.
reaching absurd levels.
Absurd.
Like dangerous levels. Like this bubble needs to get burst. And in some ways, COVID, I thought would help to deflate it somewhat just by companies or investors being more cautious. But it sounds like they've just the brain turned off. Money, just burning it, just fucking burning it in the Valorant scene. I don't want to get too into it, but.
It's really weird because a lot of the criticism around the Overwatch League originally was about the astronomical buy-in, right? And about that being a bubble. But something that the Overwatch League did very well, I think, is to keep player salaries fairly squashed down.
Yeah.
To not have them explode to ridiculous heights. And okay, some of the reported stuff this offseason was kind of ridiculous, but it wasn't ridiculous compared to CS. It's not ridiculous compared to Valorant. It's not ridiculous compared to League of Legends. Like those salaries are bonkers for the amount that they actually get back. So I think there's definitely some addressing that needs to be done there, and I think the bubble will pop in Valorant. But it's all about what Riot actually plans for the esports space. If their plans end up not being very fleshed out or being kind of vague or just waiting for third-party developers to do it.
They've already said it is. They're just gonna wait. They're gonna essentially in their blog post.
But if like DreamHack and ESL get hurt by COVID and can't put on the big events that people are kind of hoping that they will, then that naturally will dampen down player salaries because
it's just online tournaments at that point. You know, it's
Yeah.
The market's supposed to adjust. Not that it has really in CS:GO, but it's supposed to work like that.
Any final thoughts on this topic? No. Well, I have the room. And with it, I'm going to talk about my favorite topic of all time. It's time for the hero pools discussion of episode 33. I don't really have much to talk about, to be honest, because this is the last week of hero pools before we have them turned off for the thingy.
Tournament.
What are the hero pools?
They're kind of amazing.
They're really good.
Yeah, May is gone.
May, Tracer, Orisa,
Moira.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, these are pretty decent. Yeah.
We if we got rid of Sombra, we almost could have got rid of Sombra. Imagine getting rid of May, Sombra, Orisa, Moira. That's literally the entire Overwatch community what they want.
Jeff could have came out and said we're locking this hero pool in indefinitely, and then everybody would have rejoiced, and we would have been fine.
I saw people who were trolled, mad that hero pools doesn't affect them anymore when they were looking at this hero. They were like, "What the hell? These are the heroes that you ban after not making it."
You take it away from us.
You can't have your cake and eat it too. Man.
That's really funny.
Like that's such a weird reaction.
Nah, this week's setting up to be pretty fun. No watch. I mean, no Tracer sucks, but
what comps do you guys think we're gonna see?
I think we're gonna see brawly comps. I think we're gonna see some like Ryan Diva Reaper, maybe some like Luciana or something like that.
You think we're still gonna see Reaper without the May to lock him down?
Yeah, I think Reaper enables without May, it enables the Reaper potentially more.
Really?
Because I think May's so annoying as Reaper because if she's ever near you with the left click, it forces Wraith.
But how do you lock down a player without freezing them or ice walling them? Like the CC.
I feel like Reaper is almost they're almost the antithesis of one another with Reaper and May. Like they're almost the counter to one another, but they need one another. It's like the greatest love story of our time, you know, like the May kind of enables Reaper to allow him to get those big pop-off moments.
You could say Doom. We've seen Doom Reaper.
I was gonna say
Chipsa.
No, they're playing Washington. They're playing Washington as well, I think.
Dude, this is the Chipsa meta.
It's the time.
It's happening. Oh my god.
You don't think you could maybe see even like some Sombra Doom stuff?
Does anybody want to put a bet on?
About what? About Chipsa?
Yeah, seeing Chipsa.
Sure.
1 million subs.
I don't want to say 1 million subs.
What are you betting?
You want to say 5 gifteds?
5 gifteds for what? You think
I
Chips is
think
going to play?
Chipsa will play. I'm putting my money.
I watched the interview. The coach memed it. I don't think he's going to do it. I think it's funny.
What, 5 gifteds?
Yeah.
I would also say that if you make this deal, you must realize that Christopher is bribable. So, well, whatever you've bet, if you give some money to Christopher, he might just bench you.
How would he?
Yo, you want?
I don't think.
5
I
gifted
think
subs?
Christopher. No. Because aren't you getting into issues with like legalities of like the league of match fixing?
Oh yeah, of course. No. Christopher's never been bribed in his life. I wouldn't make those allegations. No,
You're trying to accuse Christopher that he's potentially been involved in match fixing? You're trying to ruin this guy's career?
absolutely not. Under no circumstances am I suggesting that.
Well,
I just say, if you slip into a hot tub with him and offer him some Coronas, he might change his mind.
well, you can't off. I mean, you shouldn't be giving people Coronas in a hot tub anyway around these times.
That's true. That's
you know
true.
what I mean? Like, but at the same time, I do miss the hot tub.
Here's just to drag things back to the meta and be boring for a second. I don't think though that rush comps are going to get used, because if you run a rush comp with Moira out of the situation, you're running like an Ana or Lucio Batiste, and I think that those are susceptible to being dived much more than Moira is. And so I think that the meta will naturally lend itself towards dive, just because you can't run the survivable Moira.
Without Tracer, I think dive's hard though. Like,
we already saw teams running Sombra Echo Dive in Asia this week, though.
Yeah, and also Doomfist Genji. Some teams.
Yes, true. But I think that Somber Echo has a good chance of being run, even though I do think that Tracer is better. I think that, especially with Brig being back in, if you run Brig
I think
Zen,
Brig just counters. If you're gonna do that, like I think it might just go towards like Brig Zen double shield with like Ryan like Sigma, and then you just sort of bunker down a little, and then you play the counter dive style, and I think that would shut it down pretty quickly.
Well,
I think that it's fairly wide open though.
Yeah, it's so hard.
What do you think we would see with no hero pools?
I think you'd see May, McCree.
That's the obvious starting point, right? Because that's what we had when we had no hero pools at the start.
How does Echo affect that?
I think May's been nerfed a little bit, and you've seen teams move away from the May to the point where that might not be the answer anymore.
I think teams, though, would just want a composition that they could master. That even if they played it, even if it's not as strong against certain comps, once you figure out how to min-max it and optimize it, it does well against those comps anyway because you're just beating them because you're better.
But this is also a tournament structure, and tournament metas tend to develop where even if that's the meta when you come into quarterfinals, teams tend to optimize as they run through the bracket.
Well, here's the thing, though. If you get a couple of wins now, you're already starting to prep for this tournament.
It's hard to prep for, though.
I mean,
I don't think you'll see teams. I don't think you'll see any teams prepping no hero pools right now unless they're really confident in their match coming up this weekend.
Really? You don't?
Yeah.
Especially with May out. Well,
Yeah.
if the meta was similar, then maybe, but not with May and Tracer out. Like May and Tracer most played heroes, so I don't think so.
Okay. My God. The next thing that's coming up is power rankings.
Oh, I think we skip it. We've gone way too long.
I think we only have to make like 2 adjustments from last week. I think this is going to be really easy.
Soul gets moved up.
Yeah, Soul gets moved way the fuck back up.
Yeah, because we had Soul in last. But I think that was very reasonable. From the way they looked, that was reasonable.
Soul moves up.
I would put them under MYXL just for inconsistency.
Yeah, but Guangzhou are better.
Yeah.
I think that...
Oh, London now as well.
I think that Seoul actually, because they were able to play the dive, the only thing they seem like they can't play is rush comps. Or maybe poke as well. But like
so
poke,
what? You want to put...
Fine, actually.
I would put Shanghai,
Seoul, Guangzhou, New York.
Shanghai, Seoul, Guangzhou, New York, and then London in between Guangzhou and New York?
No. I think
London behind New York.
Yeah.
I think London is still worse than Hangzhou until they prove otherwise.
Okay.
I don't know. Well, all right, let's leave it at that. Anyway, let's leave it at that. Now, the Americas.
Do you think Washington without Corey and Stratus is better than the Boston Uprising?
I mean, who are they going to pull in to play DPS? That's what
I guess that needs to be the question, right?
Like, who the hell is that going to be?
I saw I saw on Reddit there was a rumor about one of the players from Maryville, the college team, was going to go.
Yes, well, with my vast expansive knowledge about Tespa.
Can we add Vancouver to just above Boston?
Yep. Yeah. Just above Justice. Now Stratus is gone.
No.
Question mark?
With another week of practice.
Maybe actually, yeah. Yeah, let's do it. Let's give him a bone.
Nice.
Throw him a bone, eh?
That might be totally wrong, but
all right. Now, what changes in the rest of it?
The Gladiator's got to go down, right? You guys got him at 3.
Yeah, get him down. Get him down.
Where did it go?
Below the Valiant, obviously.
No. No, I think Gladiators go just above Valiant.
Yeah.
How low do you guys have the Atlanta Reign?
I think Atlanta aren't that good.
Think about Atlanta.
Well, they lost one match recently, and that's because they played sharp FRD.
I disagreed with this last week, but they overruled me. I think Atlanta needed to be higher.
Well, actually, I agree with it until they start playing Ursta. Like, when was Ursta's just not being played, and it just boggles my mind.
Yeah, I think
Atlanta needs to be changed.
Dallas?
I think Dallas move up. I think Dallas move up to above
Valiant.
Yeah. I think they're better than Valiant.
Yeah.
Like, I think that they...
Keep this?
I think they... I don't know about this, but Dallas might be better than Gladiators right now.
I was thinking the same thing.
I don't know whether they are, but I think they might be.
I think it'd be very close between them. The trouble is with Gladiators as well. My entire worldview on them has shifted because I've got them in my mind as a good team, but recently the results haven't been matching with that. In line.
Yeah,
it's hard.
Toronto had a good game against the Shock this week.
They actually did. Yes, Toronto had a great game against the Shock.
Whereas Houston got fucking bodied by Atlanta.
But I think a lot of that's on the back of Logics. On the McCree.
But also, I think as well on Shock having a slightly bad week from what they were saying.
Yeah.
But I still think Toronto should be moved up one.
We didn't see the Outlaws play this weekend? Was that one of the few teams we didn't see play?
Yeah. No, Outlaws played against Atlanta. They just got rolled.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
Now, where is this it?
I think that's...
Yeah. It's a good look. To full screen it.
I gotta think
that.
Atlanta under Valiant.
I mean, Florida did beat Paris recently, but I'd feel very bad putting Paris at number 3 before they've beaten any other.
But that was 2 weeks ago, and that is like ancient history at this point.
It is.
Yeah,
I
think that's okay. I don't feel strongly about it, but I'm okay with it.
It's power rankings in a nutshell when you have hero pools.
All right, predictions time. Start with number 1. What are we looking at? What are we working with here? Oh, okay. Titans versus Houston. We've all got Houston.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not too surprising considering the new roster with the Titans.
If Titans were on equal ping, like they were all on low ping, they weren't spread around.
Yeah, they'd have a chance.
Yeah, I think they would have a chance. I also think that, do you think that Outlaws might be really good this week if they can play some Doom? Like, if they can put Blase on the Doom, if it's Doom Reaper or if it's like Doom Sombra or something.
Doom Sombra. Ooh.
Dante on the Sombra.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Could be pretty clean.
Whereas Tuna didn't look very good on the Sombra.
That's pretty good. All right. Well, yeah. Next game. What are we looking at? Okay. Guangzhou Chengdu. No surprises.
Chengdu right now.
Chengdu only pulls them out.
Actually, Chengdu, if Jinmu can't play Farah or Genji, this team looks dog.
Yeah.
Like, they actually look like shit.
Do you think we could see some Farah compositions this week to counter the double shield?
Not with the amount of hit scan available in the pool.
There's way too much hit scan in the pool.
Ash is available. 76, McCree, Widow.
Yeah.
Everyone's available.
Johnny made a good point that Widow could... with Tracer out of the pool, we could see more Widow.
Yeah.
So that could be interesting.
May Widow?
Yeah, especially with Orisa out, right? Like, usually everyone just, like...
either.
Without the Orisa, everyone just stands behind the shield usually, but...
What would you play with the Widowmaker, though? That's my question. Like, how would you not be vulnerable to die?
What if you played, like, Ryan Sigma with, like, a McCree Widow?
I could see Widowmaker being played depending on the map.
What about double sniper Hanzo Widow?
Yeah,
well,
Hanzo
depends on the maps, I think.
Yeah, that's true.
You need the maps to support it.
Farah
Maybe Kings Row, Junkertown 100%.
I just don't think you'll ever see Farah.
Maybe on some maps.
Yeah.
It depends if you have the very high up stuff to block line of sight.
Yeah.
So you can just work shots in and try and...
I don't think we have any maps for that, though. Like, what do we got? Kings Row, Hollywood...
Is Eichenwald's in the pool?
I don't think Eichenwald's in the pool. I don't know what it is week to week,
neither
honestly.
do I. Anyway, next match. Shock Atlanta, all Shock.
That is interesting because the Shock didn't have it this week. So I feel like this is one of the games where I think this is losable for the Shock this week.
Yeah. Atlanta's been up and down based on who they played. I just haven't felt
confident in Atlanta in a while.
Yeah.
I just don't know what to think about Atlanta.
I'm curious on what's happening with their roster and like why the players are being, which players are being played. Like, why are we not seeing Hawk? I think Hawk's been impressing me so much this season, and now they're just playing FRD for some reason.
Yeah. Gator FRD.
Yeah, Gator FRD. It just doesn't really make sense. So I'm curious to see what's going on.
Yeah.
Not running. Like, any time this team doesn't run Urster, I'm reporting throw in. Because this shit just ain't gonna fly. It's...
Yeah.
Edison on the Trace is okay, but he got boomed by Hijacks when they played against the Valiant. Like, straight fucking boomed. And then he was pretty good in their most recent game when they played against Dante. Edison got the better end of Dante, which I was a little bit surprised about, honestly, considering that Dante's really good. But I don't think that Tracer metas are gonna favor the Hunter Rain. Like get Ursa in, play the heroes where Ursa's a nut, win.
Yeah, I agree.
Nut. Next game. Ooh, are you kidding me?
I went with an upset.
Holy moly! Both of you went with Dallas.
I was like, I'm fucking gambling on the river with this one. Why not?
Yeah.
Like,
I'm going with the same thing. I think this is a gamble based on the fact that we're not playing dive. Like we don't have decay on Tracer, but I haven't been impressed with as much with Paris as you guys have been. They're so interesting.
I have been, but I think this could be another. Like Dallas is so, like they've been getting better week to week. I think this is a week where they get a win against the top team. They took Philly. They pushed Philly pretty hard. I think they can get Paris this week.
They played Philly really hard on their DPS players' best heroes, and now there's no Tracer this week. So
I still think you can see Decay play like the McCree or the Widow.
I think.
He's good.
He's but I don't know. I'm glad that you're all acknowledging that this is a gamble though, because that implies that this match should be most of the time going in favor of Paris. You just got a feeling?
No, soon not on Tracer. I think Paris have only really looked super good in recent times when you have Soon on that Tracer.
Yeah. X is going to be starting playing on 200 ping maybe with Fielder.
No, they said he's just not going to play it, didn't they? Like I don't think.
I don't know what it is, but the thing that gives me faith in Paris is not necessarily the players, but the coaching staff of that team. Yeah. I got a lot of respect for the coaching staff of Paris.
Last week when they 2-3'd the Philadelphia Fusion, Soon wasn't playing Tracer that week, was he?
Okay.
I think it was banned, wasn't it?
No, maybe he was, because the bans were McCree Widowmaker. I can't remember what last week's meta was. Man, my brain's just...
No, it's so hard to remember everything.
It's Echo.
Yeah, were they playing Echo? No, they were playing May Reaper that week. No, they were playing May Reaper on the first.
They were playing.
map.
See, that was such a chaotic match. If you watched it, if I remember, Philly just were absolutely crushing, and then there was some shift in it that brought Paris back a bit. But I don't know. That's my thing. Is like Paris can look awful at some points, and then they just bring it back. I think this is Dallas's moment to get the upset, like Matt said.
Interesting. Split down.
What do you see Doha and Decay playing? Because in my head, the only way that Dallas wins these big games is if Doha and Decay carry, right? Like that's the MO of Dallas Fuel right now. So what do you see Decay playing? Like if it's a Sombra Echo, I don't think...
Okay, the question I have to you is, we have Doha Decay, and they're going up against Soon Nico. I think they always have the advantage no matter what meta we're playing in. Especially if we're not going into a Tracer one, because I think Decay is better than Soon on Tracer, but I think Soon Tracer is
hard to convince me.
Yeah. And then if it's a Reinhardt one, they have to play Ben Best, right?
Yeah, who's been okay, but
Sombra Doomfist, that's kind of amazing for Dallas Fuel. Doha's been a really good Doomfist, but if it's I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of compositions where your DPS can't carry as much, and in them, I would always bank on Paris. Like even though the DPS are going to be better for Dallas, sometimes your DPS just aren't as important.
Yeah.
But with being out, a lot of those actually get removed.
Yeah. And that's why I went for Dallas is fine.
Yeah. Like if they're playing Reaper Doom. Yeah.
I don't know, man. Anyway, we're split.
Yeah.
It's interesting that we're split.
Yeah. I think this is the game to watch for this weekend, for this day.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now it's to the final segment of the day. The one that everybody always looks forward to. It's the Player of the Week.
What is happening? Oh,
we don't know.
God.
Because we've never actually heard it.
Bren's Player of the Week?
It's my Player of the Week. And this week, I have decided, there was a lot of candidates. I had to narrow it down quite a lot. And
you can tell I don't watch Plat, Chad.
Yeah. He's got red. He's like, oh my God, I thought that green suit was reserved for me.
What just happened?
My Player of the Week, there was a couple of names I was rattling off. I thought maybe Moth for the 3K boop, him saying big afterwards. I like it. It's low key, it's like almost gives off the vibes that cool guys don't look at explosions, Got the 3K. It's pretty reserved about it. But I actually went with something a little bit different, and it's something that caught my eye while I was casting. And it's Nero for this tweet that he put out. A fan messaged him mid-game saying, Nero, that post-bomb poopy dog shit. And Nero, mid-map, tweets him saying, yes, my tracer is ass. What about it?
I like it, dude.
And I'm like, sorry, Nero, first alpha move, just doing this in the middle of a game.
You tweeted during the match as well.
Yeah, I was casting him and I tweeted this. Yes, but the point is, Nero, if you stop looking at social media, I actually think you might be an even better player because the thing is, like, yeah, social media is good, but I feel like it's just more negatives than positives, especially during a match.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, Nero, I gave you my player of the week, but you're not going to get it again until you promise me you stop looking at social media during games.
The crazy thing about these as well is, like, I've been a player. Nero's a great player, and we can give him all the praise that you want. If he's going to get let down by this one random person who calls his tracer poopy dog shit, then, like, you know, it's the negative ones that are going to affect you. His tracer is good.
Yeah,
I
we
think
thought his tracer was good.
Yeah.
So, Nero, don't listen to the haters, man.
Yeah.
Doing great, buddy.
There you go. Listen to your heart. And that's the takeaway from this episode of Plat Chat. Listen to your heart at all times. What do we do now? Are we over?
Yeah.
What, Josh?
No, I was going to say normally Jonathan leads us out by trying to come up with some kind of question about something nonsensical.
Don't worry, I've got a BBC article coming up.
Wonderful.
Study pours cold water on oil company what the?
Not that one.
All right.
Police officer charged with murdering woman. No, that's negative. We're not going into that one.
You just said positive in your heart, be positive, and then you just started reading a bunch of horrifying.
I had a positive news story that I wanted to talk about. Okay. Nah, I can't remember what it was. Anyway, let's just end it.